When was the last time I had you on the show?
Oh man, it's been a minute. The last time I think was when I was there with you and Sneeko.
Yeah.
This was like maybe a year and a half, maybe 2 years now.
Yeah, it's been a long time, bro.
It's been a while.
And you've somewhat pivoted sort of your content to some degree, right? I know you still do the late night shows with the girls. You still enjoying that?
Yeah, I literally just got done wrapping it up. So obviously it gets redundant because you start to realize that most women are retards. So, and they honestly, it's crazy to me how like, regardless of education level, background, profession, religion, race, they all tend to have similar ideologies when it comes to the landscape of dating and what they're looking for and what they expect and what they think they deserve versus what they feel as though what their standards are. So it's actually really interesting to see how similar a lot of them are. They're not as complex as they claim to be when it comes to what they want in a guy. So, look, does it get annoying talking to these girls? Absolutely. I'd be lying to you if I said it doesn't. But it's a necessary evil because, unfortunately, and you know this too with having like a male audience, men need to see it to believe it a lot of the times. They got to get their hand burned on the stove, whether it's me watching me argue with these chicks or like get burned by a girl themselves.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping I can at least kind of like cut the learning curve, so they can see like this is what modern women truly think about you.
Yeah. But you seem to have pivoted a lot more towards, I mean, with your show that I see in the background here, a couple of things, the debrief, you've pivoted a lot more to politics since,
Yeah.
it seems. Has that been more of your focus, and why?
Yeah, I mean, we still do Fresh and Fit, right? Monday, Wednesday, Friday as usual, Money Mondays and Womanizer Wednesdays, and then a call-in show or some special guest. But what really got me involved with politics more was like 2024, right? So in 2024, I kind of looked at it like this is a do or die situation, right? We're coming off of a terrible economy, a whole woke project mindset with the Biden administration. People are getting censored, people are getting banned, and quite frankly, there were many different things going wrong with the country. Mass immigration, wars all over the place. War breaks out in Eastern Europe between Russia and Ukraine under Biden's watch. We got conflict going on in Gaza with Israel and Palestine. So I just didn't like the way things were going. And I was like, you know what, man, I got a platform. Let me go ahead and start, getting involved in politics to be a bit more active on this. Because I truly did think at that time, if we didn't get Trump in, we were going to be cooked. Now, does that mean that I agree with every single thing he's done? No. I don't like what he's doing or what he's done with supporting Israel.
Yeah.
I do like what he's done with immigration. I think he's done a good job compared to other presidents, right? And people, don't understand how difficult it is to actually enforce immigration in this country. But, I do think that absolutely was a better choice than Kamala Harris. Doesn't even come close.
But what, in your opinion, what has he done that's better for immigration than anyone previously?
Yeah, sure. So I'll kind of try to explain this from a bird's eye view and then kind of go in and be more detailed. So the number one thing to understand is that immigration is a dirty political word. It's a catch-22. And what I mean by this is if you enforce it, you're damned. If you don't enforce it, you're damned, right? If you do enforce it, you're looked at as like evil and, you're destroying families, all this other stuff. But if you don't enforce it, people look at you like you're weak on immigration and you're just letting these guys come in and destroy our country and mass migration, all this other stuff. And the reason why I like what Trump is doing is that he's finally taking the gloves off and actually doing interior immigration enforcement. This is something that is unprecedented. This is something that no president has ever wanted to do. People say all the time, oh, well, Obama technically deported more aliens. Well, yeah, at the border, just turning them back, that's not that big of a deal. The real rubber meeting the road is when you're actually doing interior enforcement, going into these sanctuary cities like Chicago, LA, New York, San Fran, etc., and picking these guys up and arresting them, right? These were historically cities where these illegal aliens could just thrive because the local police aren't going to do anything. And if the feds do come in to try to get something done, the locals aren't going to help them. They're not going to honor detainers. So when those illegal aliens are, apprehended by the state and locals, ICE will put what's called lodging a detainer, and the state and local police will say, oh, no, we're just going to let them go. We're not going to honor that detainer. And this was a problem across many different states, many different cities for decades. So what Trump is doing right now with this surge in interior immigration enforcement is unprecedented, because what he did was he shut down the border, right? We're talking about crossings being down like 90-something%. Stop the bleeding is what I call it. Then he went in and started actually doing interior enforcement. He moved all those Border Patrol agents on the southwest border and brought them into these interior cities to actually make things happen. And every federal agency is involved. You got Border Patrol, CBP, HSI, ICRO, FBI, DEA, ATF, even agencies that don't even have immigration authority out there helping, because this has been a problem for so long, and every presidential administration has just been kicking the can down the road. And I used to work for HSI under 2 different administrations.
I remember, yeah.
Under Obama and under Trump. And typically, whenever a Democrat's in the office, and that's another reason too why Democrats tend to get a lot of deportations, when a Democrat's in, illegal aliens feel more emboldened to cross in because they know the penalties aren't going to be that hard. So that's why more aliens cross over when there's Democrats, and in turn, it'll look like they're deporting more because they catch more. But the reality is they just keep coming back. And then if they do make it through, they're pretty much gone in the wind, right? So
what's your stance though? Is it just like get everyone out who's illegal, even the people who've been here for 20 years, 30, like you don't see any sort of issue with that? Like the people who are like genuine, just like actually working, they're not criminals, they pay taxes, they do all that, even get them out?
Yeah. My thing is you got to get rid of everybody because, and I'll explain why. The Immigration Nationality Act, the INA, is broken. People have been abusing it for years. Many people think it's just a southwest border problem. No, it's not just a southwest border problem. And I can speak about this in detail from being an HSI agent for so long. We're not just getting beat on the border. These guys are coming in. They're getting fake documents. They're doing marriage fraud. They're using visas to come in, whether it's an F1 visa student or a J1 or a B1, B2. They're coming in legally and then overstaying their visa. This is a big problem with people from Canada, France, Australia, a lot of these like more socialist countries where there aren't the same economic opportunities as the United States. They'll come in on these visas, or sometimes they don't even need a visa because it's a visa waiver country, and then they just overstay. So we're getting beat when it comes to immigration in so many different ways, not just on the southwest border. And this is something that a lot of Americans don't understand. I think they did like an audit on the CIS office in Milwaukee, right? Or Minneapolis, excuse me. And they found that like there was like 40% fraud, right? Of people just committing marriage fraud all over the place between like Somalis and Ethiopians and that big population. And it's not just them. In Miami, we have a huge marriage fraud scheme here as well, where you got American citizens marrying Cubans, Colombians, Venezuelans to get them papers, because if you get married, it's probably the easiest way for you to get your LPR, lawful permanent residency, aka also known as a green card, and then you can go ahead and begin the naturalization process, all done through fraud. So what I think we need an immigration moratorium for somewhere between 1 to 5 to 6, 7 years, where we reform the entire immigration system, because obviously the America of 100 years ago isn't the America of today, and we need to figure out how we're going to do this so that we don't get beat.
Why do you think it's never been like an actual thing that people have, or not people, the government more so hasn't actually tried to get a handle on?
It's political suicide, because with immigration, it's a catch-22. If you enforce it, you're damned. If you don't enforce it, you're damned. So what would happen is they would enforce just enough to not be called, a monster for breaking up families, right? But they'd also, let a lot of people kind of just come into the country and do whatever they wanted. Oh, if you're not a criminal alien, we're not going to go after you. But what they don't realize is these guys are all criminals. If you're coming in, you were breaking a law, 8 U.S.C. 1325, illegal entry. And then if you have been deported before and you come back in again, that's 8 U.S.C. 1326, which is legal reentry. That's a felony.
So is it your opinion that just immigrants, there's no positive?
No. There's obviously a bunch of people that could come from another country and be a huge asset to us. But we need to actually make it where they are an asset, where we can't replace that talent with our people here. I'm talking like an O1 visa, right? The H-1B visa, for example, is a scam visa. It's a visa that tech companies and many other businesses use to employ low-wage labor, typically people from India, right? Where they could come in and they're getting paid pennies on the dollar to do some type of work. They have to stay with that company for a number of years. So it's insanely beneficial to the employer, but it's not necessarily beneficial to the country, because now a college student, a graduate, a U.S. citizen could have taken that job, but instead we're throwing that job to
I'm aware of all
from
this.
India.
This is more so with the tech companies that are like using these people, and they're also, because they're on that visa, that they're like beholden to the company. I'm aware of it. But what about like farm workers and things like that? People who like pick berries and...
Well, again, a lot of these guys are like migrant workers and working here illegally anyway. They don't even have visas. This has been a problem for a very long time where these farming companies, et cetera. And here's another thing too. I-9 audits and doing these worksite enforcement, this used to be very difficult to do. When I was an HSI agent, I remember if you were going to do a worksite enforcement case, you needed to send the memo up to headquarters and they would have to approve it for you to even do the raid. That's how much red tape and bureaucracy was involved with enforcing immigration law, and worksite enforcement. So what this did was it emboldened a lot of these companies, these farmers, these big, companies, whether it's tech or whatever, to just say, you know what? Hey, they're not going to come in and do a worksite enforcement thing. Like, we're just going to do what we want to do. So they've been able to kind of do this with impunity for a very long time.
Yeah.
So, but it's a problem.
Yeah, but you don't think like there's a better way to go about it? Like, I mean, obviously criminals, you want to get them out of the country, but people who are working those sort of jobs that most people just not technically, but just would probably not end up working anyways. Like, wouldn't that be a positive? Because it's like, I guess when I look at it, you talk about no one really came in and took anyone out. And I could understand why, because you talk about the political suicide, you're gonna get hated by both sides. But at the same time, like if we let people in and they are contributing, they are for the last 30 years, it's a little fucked up to just be like, yo, go yourself now, right? You don't think it should have been like all right, we're going to start here. We're closing it. We're going to remove all the criminals. We're going to remove all the bullshit. I guess it's then hard to just discern who's who. I guess that's where the problem comes into be.
Yeah, I can address that real quick. So the thing is, if you've been in the United States for 30 years, right, and you didn't figure out a way to get status, you're a retard. You deserve to get deported.
But at the same time, isn't that process so cumbersome for these people?
No, man. I mean, there's ways to fix your status. There's many different ways. Whether it's like getting a company to endorse you, getting married. There's so many different ways that you can go about it. Where if you've been here for that long, and you still don't have papers, like you're a moron, right? So, my thing is, and the other thing too, people say, oh, well, Americans don't want to do these jobs. I don't believe that. I think if Americans had the opportunity, a lot of them would take these jobs. It's just that why are these employers going to hire American citizens who they have to get benefit, pay them an actual decent wage, where they can go ahead and get migrant workers who will work for significantly cheaper and they can go ahead and increase profits. So my thing is, immigration does cause a lot of problems. And then not only that, you also lose the identity of the country, right? These people come from these countries, whether it's Latin America or Africa or any Asia, whatever it may be, and they'll come in and they'll bring their culture. They don't learn the English language. They don't want to go ahead and assimilate a lot of the times. Some immigrants do, but a lot of them don't. And this creates problems too because you lose your national identity. I don't want to walk around and look at Toronto, be like in Toronto where it looks like Mumbai, India, right? It's literally been taken over, Toronto. So I don't want the United States to be like that because we do have a certain identity to preserve. And I think bringing all these people in from all these foreign countries, it's just not good. And it changes the identity of the country. And then they bring their values, their morals in, and then we're going to lose our identity as a nation.
Yeah, I saw you talking to Sneeko about this. I found it really interesting, the Muslim thing. And there's a lot of stuff I want to talk about that, but we'll get into that later. We'll get back to this for right now. But doesn't it feel like it was by design? Like the problem, all the problems that it seems like happen obviously I'm not saying it's probably easy to run a country because I'm assuming it's probably very difficult and all the bureaucracy and bullshit that goes into it. But it seems like it was by design to create this sort of issue that everyone is now, they're either talking about or they're, having living experiences with it. Do you think it was by design?
Well, I think that there was a time period where we embraced immigrants, brought them in because we needed the people to come in. We needed to, get these jobs filled. We needed to grow the economy of the country. But I think we've gotten to a point now where, we need to be a bit more selective on who we allow into the country. And,
but that's why I'm asking you, like, how do we determine at what time do we go, okay, now we're going to retroactively go back and just kick these people out who've been here for 30 years. That's where I have my biggest point of contention with this whole conversation. Is just like, how are we determining, okay, they're here for 30 years. And I get you said, like, they were just dumb because they couldn't figure it out. But from what I understand from speaking to some people like this is that it's a very like difficult process to actually get that citizenship.
Yeah. I mean, it's not, it doesn't happen overnight, but you can absolutely, there's ways that you can, adjust your status so that you can stay, right? And figure it out. There's so many different opportunities and programs that have been put in place where, over the past, if you've been here for 30 years and you still don't have any type of status, like you deserve to get deported. You're an idiot, right? And we want the best and the brightest. We don't want just people coming here for anything. And quite frankly, I look at it like if we're going to go ahead and, have immigration, we need people that are going to come in and add value to the country. This is why I'm a big proponent of like maybe an O1 visa or these visas where people have exceptional skills that we can't necessarily replace here in the United States. But if we're just bringing a bunch of Jeets from India to code software that we can get American citizens to do, that's what we need to do. And this is actually what got me in trouble on Twitter, because I was like saying the H-1B visa is a scam visa. And, technocrats like Elon Musk rely on it to get cheap labor because their goal is to obviously maximize profit margins, not necessarily give a fuck about the United States. And this is what I talk a lot about these billionaires. If you're a billionaire, by definition, you're going to be a globalist, because to make that kind of money, you have to have international and global interests to do so. Like these guys aren't nationalists. They have their own interests. So
is that when you lost your check mark?
That's actually everyone thinks that what got me in trouble on Twitter was like, being critical of Israel and stuff. No, it was actually being critical of the H-1B visa that made me lose my check mark.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that time, man. So you're super critical of Israel. It seems like one of your favorite topics lately, huh?
Yeah, I mean,
look, did you see Nick was on Tucker?
Yeah, I'm happy for him, man. That's a big deal.
Crazy. It's crazy how things have changed since we last spoke. Because I remember, and I was speaking with Sneeko last week. That was the first time that someone was like, "Yo, you should have." Sneeko was like, "Yo, you should have him on your podcast." After the podcast that you and I had done, that I think an hour.
We should release that unedited footage now.
Yeah, I know, right?
You still have that? You should drop it, bro.
I want to run back one with actually me, you, and him again, like in person. Sure. I think that'd be cool. Sure. But a lot has changed. Now, obviously, for right reason, a lot has changed, and a lot of people talk about this. Do you see that people jump on the bandwagon just to make content, just for views, just for engagement, just for clout?
That's a good question. Yeah, as you know, me, Nick, and Sneeko have been talking about this before it was safe to talk about it, right? Before October 7th.
Yeah.
And obviously a lot of us had to pay quite a big, heavy price for it. Got me demonetized, Sneeko got banned, Nick got banned. And back then it wasn't safe, but I'll say that there were three main things I would say that led to what I call the Great Awakening. And it was, number one, Elon Musk getting Twitter.
Yeah.
Number two, October 7th and Israel's ridiculous response to it. And then number three, people just kind of waking up in general because of TikTok. So I'll kind of go through each one real quick.
Yeah.
So as we all know, Elon Musk bought Twitter, made it more free speech. When October 7th happened, what ended up happening was people were posting videos and images of all these kids getting bombed, right? And so you're seeing a genocide go down in like 4K. And that started to raise up questions like, wait, this is where our tax dollars are going? Because most Americans don't really know where their tax dollars are going when it comes to our support of Israel and our foreign policy. Most Americans don't even know how our foreign policy works. So, and this has been something that's been hidden for so long because of mass censorship. If you had talked about Israel, them destroying, kicking Palestinians out of their house out of the West Bank, or them cutting the grass in Gaza every couple of years, they would ban you so quick. And YouTube used to brag about it. The former CEO, Susan Wojcicki, who's a Polish Zionist, she bragged about how she would ban people for having anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. But going back to what I was saying, so I don't digress too much. So Elon Musk gets Twitter, right? And people are seeing all these images coming out of Gaza of kids dying. And that raises questions. What the hell? How is this happening? Then they go on TikTok and they're seeing the same thing. Kids are getting killed. People are getting bombed. Indiscriminate bombing all over the place. They're leveling Gaza. How is this happening? Then, a month later, in 2023, November, a letter to America goes viral. This is a letter authored by Osama bin Laden. Osama bin Laden, in this letter, outlines all of his grievances with the United States. And what's the bottom line? Our foreign policy, where we support Israel and destroy all these Muslim countries and destabilize them for Israel to be the hegemony in the region, is a big part of the reason why they attacked us, right? And why he has a problem with the United States when he had his issues. So when people, and the thing is like me and you are a bit older, so we remember 9/11, we remember the war on terror, right? We remember all the propaganda. We remember Fox News and, NBC and all this other stuff showing the war coverage and saying, we're going to go to war in Iraq, we're going to get these guys, etc. But these young people, these Gen Zers that weren't alive at the time, they're on TikTok with fresh eyes. They're like, wait, hold on one second, because they didn't get indoctrinated with the propaganda that me and you did. So they're looking at TikTok with fresh eyes like, oh, This is why these guys hate us. It's because of Israel. They're killing kids in Gaza. We can see it. And they're able to connect everything.
Yeah.
And then bam, people start getting red pilled on this topic. So you got Twitter allowing more free speech, showing these images. You got TikTok being 70% pro-Palestine. Then, obviously, the war in Gaza, what's going on there? The entire international community starts to condemn Israel. And then people start getting red pilled, like, how are these people getting away with this? Then they find out, oh, they get away with this because they own our politicians. People start waking up to AIPAC. People start waking up to the USS Liberty. People start waking up to 9/11. People start waking up to JFK. And they're like, holy crap, why are there Zionist fingerprints during in all of these historical events, right? Now, I'm very specific when I talk about this stuff. I'm not going to be one of these like Spurg idiots. Did it? No. What I will say is, when it comes to these multiple events, whether it's the USS Liberty, 9/11, JFK, October 7th, the Levant affair, all these different situations, there's Zionist fingerprints all over it. Does it mean that they did it by themselves? Of course not.
Yeah.
But they had a hand in it, and these guys are supposed to be our greatest allies. That's the problem. And we give them a lot of aid.
Yeah. So my question kind of goes back to what you're saying about Susan, because it's more close to, we could get more into like this, we will, but Susan bragging or saying or censoring people. So my question now is, the run everything, right? That's the thing. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, Sergey Brin, her,
right.
all, and all,
right.
Zionists too.
So why now are people so freely able to speak about it without repercussion? In your
great
opinion?
Question. No, great question. Because TikTok is a big part of it, and Twitter. Because what ended up happening was people were getting mass red pilled at a rate that Israel could not keep up with the censorship. So the way it worked prior to October 7th was, if you were critical of Israel or you talked about power or any of this stuff, you were maybe 1 out of 100 creators that would do it. They find you, bam, banned immediately. Get this guy out of here, right? Because if you talked about power, you would immediately stick out like a sore thumb. But then once everyone started to step up and talk about it, because they couldn't take seeing dead kids on their screens anymore, they couldn't ban everybody. So what ended up happening, organizations like the SPLC, Media Matters, ADL, etc., these organizations that typically were responsible for getting people banned, they couldn't keep up with everybody. Because now you don't just have far-right white nationalists or crazy Antifa people being critical of Israel. You got people on all political spectrums being critical of Israel. And when it comes to the whole, Israeli/Zionist question, I think it's the only topic that someone on the far right and someone on the far left actually agree on, for different reasons. Of course. Now, yes, yeah. Now, because of the conflict. So on the far left, right, or on the left in general, they come at it from a humanitarian perspective. They look at Israel as a genocidal, apartheid, ethno-supremacy state, right, that is oppressing the indigenous people, right, occupying them illegally. And then from the right-wing perspective, they look at it like, yo, our country is being subverted by rich, powerful that don't really give a fuck about American interests, and they are taking over our foreign policy and getting us into wars that we don't need. And then the guys that are Christian on that right-hand side are like, and they're also killing kids and bombing churches. So for once, the far left and the far right are able to come together on a topic, and I've never seen any other political topic unite two completely different spectrums and then everybody else in between. So basically what happened was, the reason why we could talk about this now is because they can't censor all of us. How is it that someone like me, right, who is completely on the different political spectrum of someone like Hassan Piker, how do we come to the same conclusion that Israel's a problem? That should tell you something.
Yeah.
If someone like me and him are agreeing on something when we literally disagree on everything else politically.
Why do you think
it goes to show?
Why do you think I mean, I guess it took so long because of the previous censorship.
Yeah, because you couldn't talk about it.
It seems like now it's just, I was talking to Sneeko about this last week. It seems like now it's so in your face that it's almost like it's on purpose for you to dislike him. Like there's only there's like a small group of people who defend it now. It seems like.
Yeah. Obviously, look, I'm not delusional. I know a lot of people are doing it for attention, money, clout, etc. A lot of people have jumped on the bandwagon, but honestly, dude, I'm happy. And I'll tell you why. Like, I don't even like, even though there's a bunch of people that jumped on the bandwagon, I don't even like calling them out, because I think this is such a problem that even if people are getting involved for the wrong reasons, it doesn't matter, because the more awareness we can bring to this problem, the better. Right. And people have their criticisms of Tucker, of Candace. They say, oh, they say Frankists or Zionists or whatever, or neocons. They don't go hard enough. Look, the fact that someone like Tucker or Candace even mentions Israel or Zionism or power is a W in itself. Because I look at it like they're going to lead you to guys like me. They're going to lead you to other individuals who might be a bit more, critical, I guess, or a Nick or a Sneak or any of these other guys. Like, the thing is that they have a normie conservative audience that are, typically always pro-Israel, etc. So you got to red pill these guys slowly because it's a lot of information and it's overwhelming for someone to take all in one sitting. But once you figure out that we basically have a group of people that subvert our country, are in high echelons of power, control almost every infrastructural point in our society, whether it's big tech, pornography, news circulation, media in general, the finance industry, politics, right? It's so many different industries that they control. Social media platforms, the majority of the social media platforms are run by Zionists. Google, right? Once you figure this all out, then you realize, oh, this is how they've been able to maintain this power so long, and people don't really do their research and figure out where these people are really from. But when you do that early life, it checks out every single time.
One of the craziest ones that I couldn't believe when I saw, well, I guess it makes sense, but the one of the biggest donors to AIPAC is OF, OnlyFans. I couldn't believe that, bro. I was like, wow, this is it's just destroying our society, bro.
Dude, let me. It's hilarious because it literally keeps up with the stereotypes, man. And I'll make it even funnier for you, right? So TikTok, right, got so bad that the ADL put the ADL and many other groups, lobby groups, said, "Yo, we need to get TikTok under control." Now, if we go back to 2020, back in August of 2020, when Trump was still in office, they were talking about banning TikTok because it was they were saying it was a Chinese malware.
Yeah, I remember
right?
this. Yeah.
You remember that, right?
Yeah.
So it never actually nothing happened though. It never got banned. People just kept it going. It is what it is. It wasn't until Israel started and the lobby in America that they actually started taking real steps to get it banned. So guess what happens? Donald Trump in 2024 leverages TikTok and is able to, between TikTok, doing interviews with different influencers, etc. Right? You were in the interview with him with Nelk, right?
Yeah.
So he heavily utilized social media and big platforms to get reelected in 2024. Right. So he didn't want to just throw TikTok to the side. So what did he do? He said, look, we're going to structure a deal.
Prolong it. Yeah.
Prolong it, structure a deal. We're going to get American buyers. So last month or so? Who buys it? Larry Ellison.
Yeah, I know. Who
donates a bunch of money to IDF, right?
Yeah.
So, and why did they do it? I'll tell you why. Because TikTok was 70% pro-Palestine over being pro-Israel. And TikTok is the biggest app for young people. And Jonathan Greenblatt went to Israel and talked about this. He said, look, we got a TikTok problem. We got a generational problem. The young people are becoming anti-Semites and being haters and not supporting Israel. And Israel is intelligent enough to know that if they don't have U.S. support, they're cooked. So they needed to get control of TikTok immediately. And that's why they rushed to get Larry Ellison to purchase it. And now you can't put AIPAC on there. You can't put the watermelons on there. You can't put From the River to the Sea. So now it's completely owned. And then they hired another woman who I think was a member of the IDF's Unit 8200, which is like the equivalent to our NSA. They hired her as like the head of like trust and safety for the censorship. And recently Twitter also went ahead and did like a thing. I'm seeing way more pro-Zionist posts on Twitter right now, ever since they talked about giving people $7,000 per post, etc.
Yeah.
I predict that there's going to be a massive clampdown.
Yeah. So where do you think it goes? Do you think it just goes back to where it was?
I think the censorship is coming back. I just don't see how they're going to do it slowly but surely, because now that most of the conflict is gone, done, they pretty much, they got Gaza right now. They're going to ethnically cleanse those people out. They waged their war against Hezbollah. They destabilized Syria, got Bashar al-Assad out of there. They've accomplished a lot of their things. They attacked Iran. So what I predict next is they're going to start censoring because they definitely want to go to war again with the Iranians.
Yeah, they want that. It's their last sort of issue in the Middle East for them. So I understand.
Yeah. It's the last barrier.
Yeah. I saw you go on Alex Jones and talk to him a little bit about like, he kind of jokes about every time he talks about anything that's not Israel, they're like, you work for Israel. And he's talking about China. But I guess the reason why people are so hung up on the Israel the Israel problem in this sense politically is because it's affecting Americans. Because I was watching that interview and like, he would kind of like juxtaposition himself. So it's like, oh, this is like a joke. And, they sort of make fun of him because he doesn't talk about Israel all the time. And, you guys were talking about how China is a bigger problem.
Yeah.
You still feel like China's a bigger, I mean, I guess on the global scale, as far as like owning resources and things like that, it could be viewed as a bigger problem. But do you think for America overall, it's a bigger problem?
Yeah. So my thing with Israel is they control our foreign policy and have us like looking like this in the Middle East, right? We're over here fighting a bunch of in the desert, right? When in reality, what we should have been doing was focusing on China and, curbing its economic might that is quickly growing. We've been wasting time and spending trillions of dollars on wars in the Middle East. Well, what we should have been doing is investing that infrastructure to building our country up, getting better engineers, having, pushing more technology. And China is like beating us in many different ways. And if we don't wake up, right, and start being competitive, it's going to create problems for us. And I think that we spent too much time and too much money on foreign wars in the Middle East for no reason. And we didn't even benefit. It's Israel that benefited.
Right. But then wouldn't that make Israel the bigger problem in this situation?
Well, yeah, Israel's the immediate problem, right? But my thing is like, okay, so for us to go ahead and deal with the China problem, we got to deal with the Israel problem first. So Israel is the nearest threat, but long term, I think the big threat is China.
Yeah.
But we've been wasting so much goddamn time on fighting wars for these guys that we can't even we haven't even been able to really address the main issue because Israel's been in the way.
Yeah. But what do you think that even addressing the Chinese thing is? Like, what is that even? What are we even addressing? They're just resources, speed of technology advancement? Like,
yeah, I mean, they're becoming an economic powerhouse, bro. Like, they're the ones that are building ships. They control a lot of the trade, right? They're buying a whole bunch of gold. They're gonna try to go ahead and go back to pushing their currency and have it backed by gold, something that we haven't done in decades, right? So they're going to absolutely be an economic powerhouse at some point. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to speak Mandarin. So it's like, we got to start figuring out how we're going to be able to maintain the hegemony that we currently have. Because if we don't, China is going to catch up and eventually overlap us if we keep doing the stupid that we're doing, where we got a bunch of stupid kids focusing on TikTok, watching porn all day, not going to the gym, being dumbasses. Like, it's cool to be a retard nowadays. And that's not good because in China, they have way more engineers than we do. Way more.
Yeah.
So, in so many different ways, we're just like failing as a country because we aren't prioritizing the right thing.
Yeah. And you think, but like, again, it just sounds like it's by design because of the sort of hold that we've had, or we've been beholden to other things.
Yeah. I mean, this is what happens with capitalism, right? With capitalism, free market, people want to make money. And that means that they're going to go ahead and sell pornography. They're going to go ahead and sell booze. They're going to go ahead and, push gambling and all this other stuff. So that's kind of one of the negatives of capitalism. Everyone is kind of out for themselves, right? It obviously forges ingenuity. It's fantastic for that perspective, but it also kind of undermines nationalism to a degree because what ends up happening is people come here, right? Brain drain, get education, whatever it may be. And then the best of the best go back to their countries. They don't stay here. The idiots stay here that we don't want, right? So, so that's what ends up happening a lot of the time. So I think with the United States, we just got a lot of work to do. And, fighting wars in the Middle East is like the least of our problems. And we just, not just the like trillions of dollars that we spent on the wars, but like imagine all the opportunities that we missed. Imagine all the deals that we could have cut with countries from the Middle East had we not been supporting Israel so much, right? The opportunity cost is massive too. So it's just a big up. And, the problem is that we have way too many, we have in positions of power that have far too much influence that are not America first. They're Israel first. And that's a big problem.
Yeah. So I guess when I have all these conversations, I look at everything, I see everything, I read all this stuff, and I kind of always find myself in this position where I'm like, okay, how do we actually make it better? Like, and for you, for example, or me, for example, right? We always kind of talk about these things. We have these conversations, which I think is a part of making it better. I know, like, for example, that's the Kamala thing. I'll talk about that in a second, but it pertains to this. But what do you think people can actually do? Because I think a lot of people, like, what can people actually do? Because I feel like we're always talking about this and people are always thinking about it. And I have conversations with people in person about this stuff. And it's like, what can someone actually do? Because I think a lot of people feel that they are sort of helpless.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like what do you actually do, and what can people actually do to make the change besides just speaking and, sometimes feeling like they're in echo chambers?
No, sure. And I agree with you. Like, we could talk about this crap all day and say that, like, that's stupid. We got to come up with solutions. So number one, we need to get more guys in politics that aren't cucked to Israel. We need guys that aren't going to sit there and take AIPAC dollars and, be slaves to Israel and do whatever they want. And also, that's number one. We got to remove the tentacles from our government. And honestly, you're going to do that by making AIPAC register, shaming people that take foreign money from Israel. Get politicians in there that are truly America first, not we love Israel and they're our greatest ally. Like, we need people in there that are hardcore nationalists. Okay.
So not like Randy Fine and not like Ted Cruz.
Hell no. Those guys are embarrassments.
I couldn't believe when he did that interview with Tucker and he was like, my sole purpose of becoming a part, I think it's Senate. I'm not sure. Senate or which one, whatever.
Yeah, to be a senator.
To be a senator was to defend, to be like Israel's. It's like how is someone join our country's Senate and their sole purpose is to defend another country?
Yeah, bro. It's and I'm so happy that like people are waking up and realizing that you can't be a politician in the United States unless you cuck for Israel. And slowly but surely, hopefully with this education, right? It might not be on the next election term, but maybe the one after that. These young guys that are getting red pilled on this stuff now, they're going to get into positions of power. They're going to be able to kind of, turn the clock, because we are waking a lot of people up. So I'm hoping the next generation comes in and they're going to realize, yeah, we're tired of supporting Israel. That's why the ADL fought so hard to get TikTok banned and make it more pro Israel, because they know that, it's just a matter of time until people start getting red pill on this topic. And I think that's how we're going to solve it, is educating the youth, letting them know what's really going on. And then eventually these guys are going to get in positions of power and we can change the country.
Yeah. You saw there was a senator in, I think it was Minnesota, that was like, I'm going to give back the AIPAC money. And like, so it's kind of starting, I think. But my concern is that
Mamdani, I'm calling here right now. Mamdani is going to be the Democrat blueprint for getting back into the White House in 2028. He's going to probably beat Cuomo. They got like an 89% chance that he's going to win, right? What did he run on? Grassroots policies, small dollar donations, riding the bus to kind of seem that he's more relatable. He has this really cheesy, awkward smile, right? He's always hitting the ground campaigning. He's meeting with minorities, he's meeting white people, etc. He's against what's going on in Israel, right? With the murdering of people. He wants equality, all this other stuff. Though a lot of it is for show, he's done a fantastic job of being an anti-establishment type guy in New York City, right? And AOC and Bernie just literally endorsed him like yesterday. They did like a big rally saying New York is not for sale, because you got these idiots like Bill Ackman and stuff who are spending millions upon millions of dollars to try to make sure that Mamdani doesn't win. So I predict that whether it's obviously Mamdani is going to become the mayor of New York City, but that's a big deal because it will show that his political strategy, his campaign strategy works. And I would not be surprised if the DNC did not try to emulate that in the 2028 election. And I predict one of the cornerstones of how they're going to campaign is they're going to say, we don't accept Zionist money. We are not controlled like the GOP by Israel. That would give them a huge edge.
Yeah. But that's, I guess my fear and my thought about it is just like, it's going to just become more subversive. Like it's going to become more like hidden.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, they're actually, I'm glad that you mentioned, I was reading somewhere that donors now are not going through AIPAC to donate. They're doing it privately or under other organizations. So they're going to always find a way to line the pockets of the politicians.
But that's my concern. Like even with Trump, for example, I mean, he ran, like, I'll never forget watching him on Joe Rogan, and he's running and he's talking to the public, obviously on such a massive platform, and talking about, releasing this, the Epstein files and draining the swamp and all the stuff that he's spoken about. And then he just kind of didn't do it to an extent. Right. Yeah. So it's like
the Epstein file,
you talk about, that was the biggest one for me that was like, bro, what the f- is going on? So my concern is that like anyone can run on anything, but what they actually do when they get there, it can change.
Yeah, I mean, look, I never believe the politician. I look at who's endorsing him. If you want to see the policy, you got to see who's putting the money behind him. Right. When I saw it was Elon Musk, when I saw it was Miriam Edelson, etc., I was like, all right, here we go. She's going to be super pro-Israel. He's going to give them the 2,000-pound bombs that they want. He's going to let them continue to, go reckless in Gaza. He's gonna, push for less, oh my God, regulation for Tesla. He's gonna get Elon Musk. He's gonna take care of Elon Musk. Remember when people were firebombing all these Tesla places? He
Yeah.
basically sicked the Department of Justice on them, and each of these guys that were like attacking these Tesla dealerships were getting hit with terrorism, bro. So, the donors always control how things are gonna go. So once you look at like the top 5 donors, that's pretty much what's gonna be put in policy. And
Well, that's the
for me,
frustrating
I
thing. It's
knew
like, what are we?
Yeah.
We're fucking electing donors.
Yeah, bro. And the crazy part is like he went a couple weeks ago when he went to Israel at the Knesset, he damn near admitted, Myron Gaines comes all the time, and
Yeah,
her
I
and
saw
Charlotte will
that.
always come up at the White House and all this. And it's like he literally was just admitting to like, basically just getting bribed and getting a bunch of money and do what he had to do. And look, I like Donald Trump. I like him, but I'm also fair and I can be critical. And the reality is this, and a lot of people forget this. Back in 2024, when he was campaigning, people forget that he was indicted in 4 different jurisdictions. He had 2 federal cases and he had 2 state cases. He had the one out of New York State, Georgia State on the RICO. He had the document case out of Southern District of Florida, and then he had the insurrection case out of D.C. Jack Smith, Letitia James, Alvin Bragg, and all these other crazy DAs and AUSAs wanted to get rid of him. So, and he was being sued. So, yeah, he has billions of dollars, but running a campaign while defending yourself legally in 4 different jurisdictions is very expensive. So he needed donor money bad. So I guarantee he probably struck a deal like, look, and the other thing too, I'll be honest with you, because I've done espionage cases before. That document case, that's what would have buried him. If he didn't become president, bro, he would be in prison right now, and he would have probably died in prison because that document case, 18 U.S.C. 793, very serious charges. You could go to jail for quite a bit of time for that. And I know people said, oh, well, he was saying, oh, I declassified the documents. That doesn't matter because when you have national defense information, it doesn't matter what the classification is. You can't have that not in a SCIF or properly secured in a certain way. And the fact that
He's talking about when they found the shit in Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah. Because his claim was, oh, I declassified it. Assuming he declassified it, it doesn't matter. It's still National Defense Information. That stuff cannot leave secured areas. So he would have been cooked, bro, if it wasn't for that.
If it wasn't for becoming president?
If it wasn't for becoming president, he'd be in prison right now, 100%. They would have got him on the espionage stuff. The insurrection case, the RICO, and then the New York case was bullshit. Like, that was just trumped up, no pun intended. That was a trumped up, like, falsifying business record case. They, Alvin Bragg and Letitia James just had a hard on for him. They campaigned on getting him arrested. They just want to be the first ones in the line. But the case that worried me the most was the document case out of Florida. That was the one I was like, holy, this is what they're going to get him on.
And what? It's like you just go and you make a deal with someone and like, yo, but if you take this money, I'll make sure you get like where you need to be. Like, it just doesn't even, I won't let what happened to you happen bad and continue to happen. Like,
no,
because like it was a case. You're saying it
happened,
was a case and he just got out of it?
Well, he got out of it because he became president of the United States.
Yeah, but like,
if you're president of the United States, you are effectively the top official in the U.S. government. Like you are over the.
I get it.
I
get it. It's just it's an interesting concept. You're above the law.
Well, in some ways, yeah, because people will say, oh, well, as your duty as a president, you can't be held criminally liable for certain things because it's a part of your duties. So by him becoming president again, it pretty much forced Jack Smith to stop the push on him. And, he ended up resigning and leaving because he saw that the window was closing. And that's what ended up happening. But, if he didn't win the presidency, bro, he would have been bad. And the thing is that he needed money to campaign. Running a campaign is very expensive. And he had all these expensive legal bills he had to deal with because he didn't just have those 4 criminal charges. He was being sued for sexual harassment, too, by a bunch of people. All these women came out of nowhere, Me Tooing him. So he needed that money and needed that support. And Myron Gaines came in kind of clutch, giving him $100 million and all the other donors. And then on top of that, the Silicon Valley guys got behind him too. The Silicon Valley guys got behind him because he was going to arm Israel to the teeth so that they can go ahead and, fight. Now I know a lot of people say, well, Myron, you're anti-Zionism, but why did you support Trump? Well, here's the thing. Kamala Harris wouldn't have done better. And because she would have given Israel what they wanted to, while simultaneously not helping with immigration, not doing anything. So we had to pick the lesser of 2 evils. I don't regret voting for Trump. Obviously, I don't like what he did when it came to bombing Iran, giving Israel all this aid, etc. But you have to pick one. And I think Trump was an infinitely better candidate than Kamala Harris.
Yeah. And you think in the future it has potential to be better? Or you not even
like
has
long-term?
potential. Obviously it has potential. Do you think it's going to be better in the future? Like, what's your actual prediction? Do you think in the next like 10 years we will kind of distance ourselves more and more from the sort of foreign aid that we're constantly beholden to? And do you think we'll get out of the grip of the control in a sense?
I think we can do it, man. I think, if, people like me and you are waking up a lot of people, bro. This interview is going to reach hundreds of thousands. Who knows? It might be a former, it might be a future congressman, a future senator that's listening to this like, yeah, these guys are right, etc. Hell, maybe one day one of us might run for office, right? And
I'd love to
be involved in a situation. You know what I mean? So it's like, I do think that people are waking up and we're kind of like the genie's out the bottle, and people are kind of waking up that our foreign policy has been controlled by a small group of people that have ulterior motives that might not necessarily be America first. And I'm hoping, right, that a lot of, because here's the thing, these young guys that are watching, they're all anti-Israel, both on the left and on the right. These guys are going to become the future of this country.
Yeah.
So it might not be 10 years like you're saying, but maybe 20, maybe 15.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about the Kamala Harris book. What I saw you and Tate talking about it for a little bit. What was actually said about you, which I find it pretty funny. Like go to that. Where's the excerpt?
Yeah, I'll show it to you right now. It's
you bookmarked that, huh?
Yeah, it's page 176. Here, I got you right here.
Yeah.
So it boom, and I gotta, hopefully you should be able to see that. Okay. So let me make that. Okay, it was right. Okay, boom. So right where my finger is, right there.
I see it. Yeah.
Yeah. For some, the voices that filled the void belong to Andrew Tate, Myron Gaines, and others who grab attention with get rich or fitness content, then deliver arguments that feminism is damaging to masculinity and women need to know their place. So, and and it's kind of funny because I told you at the top of the interview, because you're asking me, hey, when did you really get into politics? What motivated you? When I saw her running and I saw, what was going on with Donald Trump, I was like, there's no way this woman could be president. And that's when I kind of said, I started going hard saying, hey, all you guys need to get out and vote. We need to put Trump in office. Otherwise, we're cooked. Because another thing too, and I'll be very honest about this, the Biden administration was responsible for me getting demonetized. They absolutely played a hand in it. Media Matters wrote a hit piece on me, Pearl, Tate, Sneeko, a bunch of other people, Nick, on us being like, anti-Semites, manosphere, misogynists, all this other bullshit. And Media Matters was working with Congress to like get us censored, and that's what led to me being demonetized. So
from YouTube,
yes, absolutely. Yeah. So they and YouTube admitted it, that like with the COVID, they admitted this is why they're reinstating people, that with the election interference, COVID. Remember when we couldn't talk about that stuff back in like 2020, 2021, 2022? You couldn't even mention COVID back then. So, or election interference. That's actually what got the first Nelk interview with Trump taken down, was because he said that the elections were rigged. So, and then they obviously just put it up recently now. But I knew that if Kamala came in, it was going to be another 4 years of that. So, being painfully honest, I knew the censorship was going to only get worse under her rule. So I was like, hell no, we're not voting for her. And she's a woman, bro. I'm not voting for no female to be in the White House. I kept her out the White House and back in the kitchen, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, you're a fool. It's funny, man. Yo, do you ever, and this kind of goes, and it's going to go back to the picture you have back there. Do you ever feel like your messaging, not necessarily being wrong, do you ever feel like it's too brash?
Yeah, it is. I definitely concede that my message will probably ruffle a lot of feathers. I don't, I swear a lot. I don't necessarily, mince my words. I just say it like it is. I'm very blunt. But what I've realized is sometimes to get people out of like the drunken stupor that they are of everyday life, you almost got to smack them like, hey, hey, this girl's a thought. Hey, you get up, right? Yeah. And you're in the fitness world. You know how lazy motherfuckers are. How many times have you coached people and they're like, oh, it hurts. And you got to tell them, hey, stop being you got to break that laziness pattern. So I kind of do the same with my message because my thing, I look at it like this. If I'm just going to go ahead and be boring and speak monotone and say X, Y, Z, you know, 1 + 1 is 2, like they might hear me a little bit. But if I say, hey, dumbass, 1 + 1 is 2, now it's memorable. Hopefully with that, you know, with that delivery, they can also take in what I said as well, right? With the message. So you almost got to like break the pattern that everyone is, because nowadays, you know, you're fighting for people's attention. People are on TikTok all day scrolling. People have short attention spans. People are stupider than they used to be. People don't have the same critical thinking skills. So,
bro, I literally read something. I'm sorry I interrupted.
No,
I literally read, this is about the TikTok brain thing. I literally read something the other day that they were like, yo, they've proven that TikTok is shrinking people's brains because of the attention span thing. Like physically shrinking your fucking brain. That's wild.
Bro, like me and you are around the same age. Yeah. I'm telling you, this generation, they're stupider than we were. I'm telling you. They're absolutely stupider than we are. They're more based. I'll give them credit. They're more based than we were, because me and you probably, did you vote for Obama in 08?
I didn't vote, no. But I would have. Yes.
You would have voted for Obama.
Yes.
Like, I completely admit that our generation, we're
for
idiots.
Sure.
We're libtards. We thought being, you know, left wing was cool. We were like, yeah, Obama, change, blah, blah, blah. We all fell for like a bunch of idiots. So what I will give credit is young men now are more based than we were, but they're also dumb because of the ease of the internet. And, you know, a lot of these motherfuckers don't even read books anymore.
Yeah.
Like, that's a whole other concept. They're
like
on TikTok
books are
all
going
day.
out. Yeah. It's just watch videos all day.
Yeah. And not only that, it's like, you know, they have more opportunity. Like, you know, in our day, we didn't have social media. We didn't have alternative media. We didn't have any of that. If we wanted to watch the news, we were stuck to, it was either Fox or CNN. You know, what propaganda do you want? You know, but now they have alternative media. They have access to all this stuff. So like, they got a leg up.
But wouldn't you think that would make people smarter though?
But now obviously there's some people that watch YouTube, the longer form of stuff too. But like most of these young guys just want TikTok, man. It's just like we live in this like fast food, you know, instant gratification society where it's like, oh, I can Uber Eats, you know, I can match with a girl on Tinder, I can open up TikTok, I can Google it right then and there. So that instant gratification has made people stupider. Yeah, part of it.
But so back to the original question though. So you do admit that some of the stuff that you do is for sensationalism, to get views, but also I guess in the context for you is to get people's attention.
It's really to get people's attention, because if I just wanted to do views, I would go about it a lot differently, because this sensationalism and the way that I speak is actually cost me more than help me. Like I've like, you know, but my thing is like, I mean, me and you have talked about this privately, so I'll say it out. Like, you know, I'm a minimalist, bro. I wear the same clothes all the time. I don't care. I don't have any nice cars. I still drive my 2002 Honda. Like, I keep my expenses low. And to me, like, that freedom from materialism allows me to say what I want to say on air, because I'm not tied to, oh my God, I need this money because I got to keep up with the Joneses. Like, I'm a minimalist. So like, I would rather live, you know, very simply so I can say what I want to say versus, you know, making a bunch of money, but, you know, walking on eggshells with everything that I say.
Yeah. Is that
That's
something?
how I look at it.
Have you always been that way?
Yeah, man. I just, you know, I've always called people the word that rhymes with maggot, right? We're on YouTube here, so I don't want to make your editor have to do more work.
Right.
Yeah. I'm trying to keep it somewhat clean, because I know you got a quick turnaround. You know what I mean? So, but you know, I've always been fairly raunchy and raw, and you know, that's our generation too. Like, you know, on one side we were like kind of liberal, but on the other hand, you know, we'd be playing Xbox and talking and using.
Bro, I'll never forget those days, man. I'll never forget those days. The COD lobbies, bro.
Yeah, man. I mean, hell, me and you were playing Overwatch and we were raging at kids on the remember?
Yeah.
How you suck, bro. We're in our 30s complaining, telling kids like, yo, you fucking suck. Get off DPS, like Overwatch. You know.
I'm still a nerd, but it's nothing like now. You can't say like we said back in the day, bro. When there was zero, no one read the voice chat. They weren't monitoring it. Oh man, those were the days. That made people tougher.
No banning. No, it did. There was like no bullying, none of that bullshit. But now it's like, you know, you say one thing, if you say someone's ugly, you could get banned for that. So but yeah, like for me, you know, I would rather create impact than create enormous amounts of wealth, because since I'm such a minimalist, you know, I prefer the ability to be authentic. And kind of what I've realized, and you know this because you've been in the social media game for so long.
Yeah.
Like, you got to pick one. If you want the utmost clout and money, you can't be 100%. You just can't, unfortunately, right? Yeah. You have to be very clean, very PC, advertiser friendly. Or you could be based and say what you want to say, but that's going to come at a cost. You're going to deal with censorship. You're going to deal with hate. You're going to deal with less money. Advertisers are going to come your way. So it's really, you pick your poison. For me, I'd rather make less, but be able to say and do whatever I want and not have to worry versus making a bunch of money, but being on eggshells every time. Like, for example, I don't know if like Kai, for example, right? Kai Cenat.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of money, right? Very successful. Great for him. But I remember like one of his buddies said the F word on stream. He freaked out. He was like, oh, come on, bro, blah, blah. Like, and I never want to be in that position where I'm just like, oh man, like my people can't even say what they want to say around me because I'm walking on eggshells and I want to keep brand deals. To me, I think that like sacrificing, your authenticity for money isn't worth it for me. And one of the biggest compliments I get is when people meet me, they're like, yo, you're the same guy on and off camera. Same guy. And that's what I strive to do. Cause like, I don't want to be one of these Hollywood where it's like, you see me on stream, like, yeah, I'm super happy. And then when I see you in person, I'm like, oh, I'm a dickhead. And I want to be the same guy all the time.
Yeah, I get it.
Obviously, we observed over the past 2 years that Israel has basically completely demolished Gaza, right? We know about 60,000 people are dead. We know about 80% plus were innocent people. And we know that there's probably anywhere between 100 to 600,000 people that died total that are under the rubble or got completely pulverized from the airstrikes, right?
Yeah.
But Israel, what do they tell us? Oh, there's no mass starvation. There's no genocide. We're not killing a bunch of people indiscriminately. These are targeted strikes. They're lying to our faces.
The one thing I can't get behind is every time you can just look at what it looks like Gaza itself and the cities that are just indiscriminately just demolished. And then you hear, the IDF is so meticulous. And then you hear that, we get all our information and their intelligence is so good. And they have all these precise weapons and the best military and all this stuff. And then you look at the picture and you go, well, which one is it? Cause it's completely indiscriminate when you look at it. You just go, okay, so every single building, hospital, church, house, everything was just but Hamas. And I'm just like, dude, I no matter how much I want to believe it, I'm just like, man, that just doesn't, you can't even say that. It just doesn't read.
Yeah.
You don't even have to have a political perspective or view or whether you're Jewish or Christian. It's just like you see it and you go, that doesn't add up at all. You just look at it, just looks like, because in my head, I look at it from just obviously from the outside, I'm not in it. Sorry to the people that are dealing with that. It's a genocide and it's insane, but it's like, I go and I look at it and I go, damn, well, what's the future of this? We could start talking about the peace stuff, the plan that they have in a little bit here after you finish your point, but it just looks like to me, it's like, let's get these people out of here. Number one, they don't want them there. Let's level this whole place. And then I just go in my head, maybe because I've been in business for so long, it's just like, it just screams new real estate and new buildings and who's getting the contracts and how much money are they getting paid. It's like, it's just sad. It's sad because it's like real people lived in these places that weren't Hamas, that weren't terrorists, that weren't trying to just kill or whatever they say and whatever they tell you. And then you go, man, and then you see the other side and you see the reasoning. It's like, these two things they're not hitting. It's just missing. And I think that's why majority of people can look at it and go, okay, this is just wrong. It's not even like what you're saying left or right or Zionism or this or that. It's like, you can clearly tell that this is wrong.
No. And I'm really glad that you said that, Brad, because what you gave was a very honest, common sense take that a lot of Americans would agree with. Like, you don't have to be politically inclined to look at that and be like, I thought they were under the tunnels. Why are you bombing above like this? This doesn't make sense.
Well, not just above, dude. It looks like they're bombing everything. That's what it looks like.
They're bombing everything. So, and I'm glad that you said that because it adds more credence to what I'm saying. The entire international community is awakened to this, right? At first, everyone was behind Israel. Then they saw, as the months dragged on, like, bro, they're just kind of bombing anybody. Oh, whoa, all these kids are dying. So, they've been doing this for a while. And to kind of come back to the point with the painter, right? So, we saw, literally over the past 2 years, me, you, and the rest of America witnessed a genocide in 4K, right? Every scholar's come forward, pretty much, genocide expert, and said, this is a genocide, no doubt about it. Netanyahu got indicted by the ICC for a whole bunch of war crimes. But then they have the gall to look us in the face and say, oh no, we're not mass starving them. Oh no, we're not like killing them. Oh, we're not doing a genocide, blah, blah, blah. So my thing, I look at it like this.
Dude, hold on. Before you continue, this one more thing I really got to say that just irked me, bro. Do you remember when, I don't know how many months ago this was, but like they would allow content creators to show up in Israel and go, yeah, look at all this AIDS right here. It's like, buddy, like that's clearly where they let you go film the video. That doesn't, just because, and this is another thing I couldn't wrap my head around. I'm like, how, do they really think they're going to convince people with this? Is so startling to me just as a human, where I go, wait, so you're saying because some guy was allowed to be there in every other aspect, there's no journalists allowed, but this guy who's allowed to be there to do a selfie video in front of a bunch of stuff and say, well, it's here, just because it's here in this selfie video doesn't mean that they were ever allowed to get that aid. Like that's I'm like, how are you guys missing that actual thing?
Yeah, they basically took selfie videos of themselves with spoiled food, saying, look at all this stuff here. Yeah, dummy, that's the problem. It's not getting into Gaza. You know what I mean? Like, so like what I was saying was, the problem, so they basically lied to our face for 2 years, saying it's not a genocide. We're not mass starving them. We're not just indiscriminately bombing them. We have targeted strikes, all this bullshit. It was all a lie, right? And we know now, when this is all said and done, Brad, we're going to have 100 to 600,000 dead easily. When this is all said and done and they pull all the bodies out the rubble and they actually look at the vital statistics and figure out, where people are and missing. Because there's a lot of people buried under the rubble. That's a big reason, actually, right?
I got to interrupt one more time. I'm so sorry. There's one thing I got to tell you. We might cut this out. I interviewed the kid from Gaza. Do you remember when I did that interview? Did you see that?
Yes, dude, I did see that. The guy that, like his workout routine.
Yeah. There was and my boy here behind the computers could attest to this. And again, this might get cut out because he specifically stopped me during the interview when I was asking him questions about specifically the aid and what is happening when the aid is being delivered to the people who are starving, right?
Okay.
He said, yo, can we pause for a second? Because I don't know if I should say this. And so, because I was trying to, because there was that whole moment of like, well, how come none of the aid's getting through and all this stuff's happening? And I was like trying to really understand. And so I was like, yo, let me just ask someone from there, right?
Yeah.
He stopped me during the interview and was like, yo, I don't know if I should say this online. And this was the most, like, it made me tear up, bro, because this kid lives there and he literally was like, yo, maybe don't put this on the internet because like, I'll actually, like, they'll try to find me for saying this. And I couldn't believe that. Like, that was one of the craziest things that I heard, because the fact that, because if he were just some like liar, he would just say it because he's trying to make Israel look bad. Mm-hmm. The fact that he stopped me on a fucking Zoom call across the fucking world and said, maybe don't put this on the internet because it will actually make me extra fear for my livelihood. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
And maybe that's just, I'm telling you that as a human right now. Maybe it's not going to show up on the internet because it's fucking insane. I couldn't believe it. Like, it was like, I mean, I could, cause I see this stuff, but I was like, this kid literally was like, yo, this might be the line for me.
Yeah.
It's fucking crazy, man.
And there's a reason why that kid opened up to you like that, Brad. You're a good man. I've known you for many years now, and I've always liked you. You know what I mean? I've always had a great amount of respect for you, and people don't admit things like that. And he trusted you with giving you that information for a reason. You're a good man. And, and obviously you have a soul where, you had to fight back, tears potentially, and that just shows that you're human. And the thing is that when it comes to this topic, the Israelis have been doing this for a long time. Back in like 2018, 2019, they were doing a march on the fences, right? A peaceful protest. And Israeli snipers were like just shooting at the people that were protesting, right? And doctors have testified at the UN saying like, hey, kids come in every day with like, one day they'll all come in with gunshot wounds in their arms. Then another day they all come in with gunshot wounds in their legs. And this is because the IDF plays games where it's like, okay, today we're going to aim for the arm. Okay, today we're going to aim for the head. And they've been doing this for a long time. People always say, well, what happened on October 7th was horrible. Look, the loss of life, whether Israeli or Palestinian, is a tragedy. I'm not one of these people that's going to sit there and say, yeah, kill the Israelis. Fuck no. I don't want them to die either. But we have to be honest here and understand the elephant in the room, which is Israelis simply don't value Palestinian life. They look at them as cattle that could be slaughtered and killed. So when they tried to do this peaceful protest back in 2018, 2019, and they were getting shot at and killed, the head of Hamas at the time for the military wing, Yahya Sinwar, He said, fuck it. That was the guy that, made the whole October 7th thing. They were like, yo, we don't have a choice. We tried to peacefully protest. We tried to fucking work with these guys. They keep oppressing us. They keep killing us. They keep attacking us. We're going to fucking fight. And the thing is that, if you oppress people for so long and you keep them in occupation and in apartheid and you take their rights away and you jail them unlawfully, right? Yahya Sinwar spent 20 years in jail. What's going to happen is people are going to want to resist at some point, right? And that's what ended up happening with October 7th. Now, again, we could talk about that if you want to detail as well. I don't condone the killing of any innocent person, but what does Israel expect when you're illegally occupying a people for 70 years, take their rights away? You think they're just going to sit there in an open air prison? Of course they're going to retaliate, man. So, it was inevitable.
Going back to, you mentioned about the two-state solution. Do you think it will ever be that?
Brad, that's a fantastic question, man. I feel like I wrestle with this like every day. Like, can we get a two-state solution? Would we have to have a one-state solution? Because what I'll do is I'll give you both examples, right? So the two-state solution, that was originally that was been the plan from the beginning, right? There's all these different resolutions that they tried to have. And I would say the Oslo Accords that Yasser Arafat and Yitzhak Rabin was the closest to potentially getting a two-state solution. What ended up happening was Yitzhak Rabin got assassinated by a far-right Likud party member who many believe Netanyahu got to do it. And then Netanyahu went ahead and took power in the 90s, in the mid-90s, after Yitzhak Rabin was killed. And what ended up happening was Netanyahu did everything in his power to stop a two-state solution from happening from the Oslo Accords. He basically killed the Oslo Accords by stonewalling them a bunch of times. And he got caught in video admitting to this in the West Bank in a leaked video, just a surreptitious video that was taken. So he's done everything in his power to make sure that the Palestinians don't have a state. And the reason why is because he's like, hey, we can't live side by side with these guys because they're going to attack us. He looks at it like a national security threat, right? Well, okay. What about a one-state solution? Well, they don't want that because in order for Israel to stay a Jewish state, they must be the majority. They must represent somewhere between 70 to 80% because they're afraid that if they gave all the Palestinians citizenship and it became a one state, what would happen is they would outbirth them and then eventually get power in the Knesset. They'd become the majority. They'd vote out all the Israelis and then they would take over in that way. So those are the two options, but this is why they don't want either one to happen. So I think the best situation in this case is either a two or a one state solution, but with the leadership right now, it's impossible, right? And not only a two state or one state, they want to annex the West Bank. That's what they're doing right now. As all this stuff has been going on in Gaza, it's kind of giving them the cover to commit even more atrocities in the West Bank and carve it up even more so.
But hasn't Trump been pushing back against that, like not allowing that to happen?
Yeah, so he basically said they will not annex the West Bank. If they do, it could compromise our relationship. But here's the difference. They're not going to, what he mean, he's saying that, but that's just posturing. They've already pretty much annexed the West Bank. They just wanted to make it formal and make it official. Trump doesn't want them to do that because that would cause hell for him in the Middle East. So, but the Israelis have been, basically annexing the West Bank and carving it up. And, what they've done is they've like created little settlements all over the place, which the international community all condemns as being illegal. And what they've intelligently done is they put the settlements in areas where we don't have, where the Palestinians can't have any continuity, right? Continuity, because everything is carved up and there's certain roads that only Israelis and settlers can use and Palestinians can't. So what ends up happening is it disrupts and completely destroys their ability to do any type of trade, to travel freely, to really do anything. And they did this strategically because what the Israelis like to employ is a tactic called like facts on the ground. So they'll go ahead and they'll negotiate an Oslo Accord, right? Oh yeah, we're going to go ahead and do this. But then they kick the can down the road, let the deal stall. And then while this is happening, they're bulldozing houses, they're making settlements, etc. So when they come back to the negotiating table, oh, well, facts on the ground kind of change. We need to have this much of the West Bank now because we have this much. So they have zero intention of actually slowing down. They're just continuing the expansion. There's like, 700,000 settlers over there now at this point. And they've done this in a strategic manner to ensure that the Palestinian part of the West Bank has zero continuity. And hell, they're showing it. They don't even call it the West Bank. They call it Judea and Samaria, whatever.
Where do you get that information? Like, how do you find that information?
About how they're doing, what they're doing with the West Bank?
Yeah.
Lots of research, bro. I've spent hours looking into what they're doing. Because I had a debate actually with Destiny where we discovered this, right? Where we discussed this, and the debate was, who is a bigger barrier to peace, the Palestinians or the Israelis? And obviously, I said the Israelis are the bigger barrier to peace. And I kind of went through all the different peace deals and how the Israelis sabotage each one, because the misconception is that the Palestinians didn't accept any of the deals, and they threw away every single peace deal that came their way. But that's disingenuous, because no one ever talks about the details of the deal that was given to them. And I think anyone with half a brain will be like, no, we're not accepting this, because every single deal that the Israelis presented to the Palestinians was unfair and retarded. No one would accept that in their right mind.
Yeah. It's crazy how they like just sort of do the whole back and forth thing. And in the defense of everything is always like, oh, well, they're trying to create peace. And it's like, but have they really been trying to create peace?
Nah, bro. And you know, it's fantastic because I love getting your insight on this, because you're like, look, even if you're not a politically inclined guy, common sense would say they leveled the land. Kids are dying, right? And I think that's why, like, I think a lot of people in the world have, like, I mean, you're more politically inclined than 90% of people, but like, even if you come at it from an objective, non-political thing, a common sense person could look at this and be like, yeah, this is up, dude. And I think this is why, like, the entire international community, to include the United States, which we've historically been cucked to Israel, even people that used to like Israel and were hardcore Zionists are like, I don't know if I can support this anymore.
Yeah.
Like kids and stuff like that. And they've been doing this for decades, bro. It's just that we didn't have the technology, we didn't have the cameras and the footage to show it, because censorship was so strong on this topic, where if you even posted a video of settlers bulldozing houses in the West Bank, you'd be banned on YouTube immediately. Because Susan Wojcicki had a death grip on that, where anyone that was being critical of Israel or showing any of this stuff, they would get banned.
Yeah. Sad, man. Going to the peace deal. What do you know about, like, what is their perceived plan? Right? Because I've not read so much into the details, but there was a few things that I saw and I was like, they were talking about giving people like some sort of crypto allocation to show that they have, like, is that real?
Yeah. So what you're referring to is, like, there was a plan of what they're going to do with the Gaza Strip after.
Yeah. And like how they would allocate land.
Yeah. So I could go through that real quick. So back in March, right, Netanyahu came to the White House, right? And this was in the middle of the tariff war, if you remember, right?
Yeah.
Now, presumably on paper, he came to talk about tariffs, but the real reason he came was to talk about Gaza, the war, and bombing Iran. That's what he really came here for. And what ended up happening was Trump slipped and he said, yeah, remember he said, we're going to take Gaza, we're going to cherish it and all this other shit. We're going to take it over. It's going to be a beautiful international location.
Yeah, I remember.
Remember that?
Yeah.
And the whole community was like, what? Under what authority you're going to take take Gaza? What are you talking about? And you can see Netanyahu kind of like, because Trump is unpredictable, right? So after that, when the press started really grilling him and stuff, he backrolled that and he stopped talking about it all the way. I didn't see him mention it on the media at all. But then these, fast forward a couple months, and it got leaked about what their plans were to turn the place into basically like an international, location for tourism where people will go. And I kind of saw this coming because Gaza is like in a beautiful area. It's right on the beach, right on the ocean. And the Middle East has been trying to modernize for decades now. I think they've realized that, in the age of potentially having electric cars, right, less dependence on oil, etc., and also diversifying their economy portfolio, Dubai was kind of the leader in this, the UAE. And what they were able to do was they created, the UAE created Dubai, and it's a very successful city where you're able to bring a lot of people in from different places and create like almost like a tourism economy. Saudi Arabia said, wow, these guys are making money. We want to do the same. That's why they started modernizing. They allowed women to drive. They are bringing in more entertainment like WWE, boxing matches, etc. Saudi Arabia wants to jump in on this tourism angle. So I think people saw this and said, yo, we could do something like this with Gaza. Gaza's right on the thing. It's a beautiful location. Let's do it. So I think that they're trying, because that's prime real estate, they're basically going to go ahead and turn that place into a thing. And there was a 60-minute interview that came out a couple of days ago with Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff, and they kind of let the cat out the bag again, saying like, oh yeah, we have a project plan, blah, blah, blah. And you can see Kushner like kind of getting uncomfortable as Witkoff was talking about some of this. But that was the plan the whole time. Level Gaza, make it inhabitable, encourage the people to leave the area, give them financial incentives. Oh, you could stay and keep your land if you hang out here, blah, blah, blah. But they want to get those people out of there so that they can go ahead and turn it into a huge tourist support because it's a W, because now they can generate money. Now they don't have to worry about the Palestinians. They don't have to deal with the Palestinian question anymore. And they control the Gaza Strip, and they don't have to worry about anything. So that was the plan the whole time, was to ethnically cleanse these guys and turn it into a tourist hub, which would make a lot of money.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. So
Yeah,
did Qatar
it's
pay you to
nuts.
say that or what?
Yeah, $7,000.
Qatar, dude, it's crazy. It's crazy how on Twitter like you said, a lot of there's a lot more pro-Israel stuff, but it's funny to see at least now. I guess maybe it's probably because of the Mandani thing, but like there's a ton of like it's Muslims and it's Islamists that we have to be afraid of now.
Yeah, did you see that? I literally
Oh,
tweeted
I
about
see
this.
that all the time on Twitter now.
Dude, once they push this like new narrative, this new algo, I've seen nothing but like jihadis, Islamists, that's the biggest threat to America, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, bro, look, I have had my criticisms of, that's where me and Sneeko, even though I'm a Muslim,
Right.
I'm very objective on certain things, and I call it out whether I benefit from it or not. But to say that Muslims are a threat to national security of the United States, or that they're the biggest threat to America, not even close, bro. We're talking about 1 to 2% of the population with almost no representation in the government or positions of real power in America. They're not a threat at all. I would argue power is a way bigger threat to the United States, because guess what, bro? We're not making anti-Arab laws where we're sending people to jail and deporting them for talking shit about Qatar or Saudi Arabia, but we're absolutely doing that for the Israelis.
Yeah, I mean, that was some shit I couldn't believe. I mean, I remember even time ago Texas was like, if you boycott Israel products, and like, I'm just like, bro, what's happening?
Yeah,
you're not gonna get hurricane aid. Like, what the fuck are we talking about,
dude? It just goes to show like how cucked our government is.
But
Israel,
the thing that blows my mind in this whole conversation is that, do they think I'm sort of convinced that they just think people are just so motherfucking stupid that they won't see it. Is that what like? Do you think that's their angle? They're too dumb.
No, I think what it is they've gotten complacent, and I'll explain what I mean by this. So for decades, right, Israel's been able to enjoy, because of obviously overrepresentation in media in the United States, run by American. Israel's been able to enjoy a lack of scrutiny and criticism, because anyone that did criticize or attack them would immediately be canceled. You go ahead and talk shit about Israel, power, any of this stuff, you're getting cooked. They're going to label you anti-Semite, a radical, get this guy the fuck up out of here, boom. But what Israel did not anticipate was their retaliation to October 7th getting documented the way that it did, and getting put out on social media platforms where they don't have the stranglehold that they had on regular media from before. And I think what happened is they've enjoyed this, lack of scrutiny for so long that they got comfortable and said, oh yeah, let's just do what we always do. Let's just bomb the Palestinians, cut the grass, no big deal. It is what it is. We're going to ethically cleanse them and nobody's going to care. They didn't anticipate that social media would flame them and come back to bite them later on. And they're realizing it now. This is why Netanyahu went and did an interview with the Noak. This is why he did an interview with Tatum. This is why he did an interview with Trigonometry.
Pat Bet David as well.
PBD as well. So what he's doing is now they're realizing like, oh fuck, we've lost the narrative. The mainstream media that we controlled before doesn't have the juice that it used to. We can't go ahead and pay CNN and Fox to not show pictures of these kids getting blown up. Oh, so now Netanyahu is trying to do interviews on friendly stations and answer questions, as well as they're putting money into the purchase of TikTok, right, to fix the situation over there. They're putting money into Twitter to get them to censor people more. I predict YouTube is going to be next, where if you're too critical, they're going to start putting you down for hate speech. I predict also all these other social media companies are going to start getting moderated. And then on top of that, and you alluded to this earlier with the influencers going to like look at all the aid, now they're paying influencers to come out and be pro-Israel. So they're going to launch a full-on pro-Israel brigade to combat the last 2 years of negative press, because they've been so focused on attacking Iran and Lebanon and the Houthis that they haven't had time to really fix their press reputation. But now that the war has kind of is pretty much done now at this point with at least Gaza, they know that they need to go ahead and push the propaganda and get U.S. support again, because if they're going to go ahead and attack Iran the way that they want, they're going to need U.S. support.
Do you think it's going to happen? Like they're for sure going to do it?
Yeah,
even without the support,
question.
The support of the American people. It sounds like they'll probably have the support of America.
Yeah. So what I think is this. So Operation Rising Lions, which was the attack that they did back in June, the 12-day war, Israel basically busted its entire load. Pause. And I'll explain what I mean by this. It was a fantastically done operation. And this is another reason, too, why I criticize the Israelis so much, because I know the capacity of the Shin Bet. I know the capacity of the Mossad, Unit 8200, which is their NSA, which collects signals intelligence. They are they're right up there with us, if not better than our intelligence agencies. I mean, the pager attack in Lebanon that they did you know that they had those bombs and those cell phones and those beepers and walkie-talkies for 10 years?
No, I didn't know that it was that long. I heard about that, but I didn't know it was that long.
Bro, 10 years they had those explosives in those devices. 10 years. And they, triggered them all.
How do you know that? Like, how do you know that?
I watched a documentary on it, and the New York Times reported it too.
Okay.
So they had them there for literally like almost a decade. And then while they were doing that, they were doing airstrikes, precise airstrikes, and they went and did a ground assault. And then, and they were able to do that. And then with Operation Rising Lions, they had Mossad agents in Iran building drones, shipping themselves parts and building it slowly but surely. And what ended up happening was with the Mossad.
Sounds like you were there, bro. You sure you weren't there? It sounds like you know too much.
Hey, man, I got paid. The Israelis gave me money. I got to pretend to be the opposition, control the opposition, right?
Yeah.
So what ended up happening with the 12-day war and how it kicked off was you had Israeli Mossad operatives behind enemy lines in Iran being there for roughly, who knows, a couple months, maybe a couple years, because they had to assemble all these drones in country. So they had to ship themselves the parts or smuggle them in and build these drones in country. So what ended up happening was they launched these drones, took out the air defense, right? And this allowed the fighter jets to come in and do targeted strikes and kill several generals and nuclear scientists. And then on top of that, they started attacking other strategic positions, and they jammed their radar. So Iran was basically blind for 24 hours. They couldn't even respond because they had tried to decapitate them. And what the Israelis failed with is they thought, okay, if we hit them hard like this, we're going to go ahead and get all the people that don't like the Ayatollah to rebel and take over the country. But it didn't work the way that they wanted, and it failed and actually backfired. What ended up happening was it actually united the country. And the reason why it united the country was because in the Iranian government system, they got the reformists, which is like their version of the Democrats, and then the conservatives, right? And on the reformist side, the left wing side, they're like, yo, we need to have diplomacy with the East, with the West. We want to get these sanctions gone. They're crippling us. We need to fix our economy and get into the global picture financially. But on the conservative side, they're like, no, the West can't be trusted. These guys, backed out the nuclear deal. They put us on the terrorist watch list. They're giving us crippling sanctions. The West can't be trusted. So when Israel attacked Iran in the middle of negotiations, by the way, they're supposed to they attacked them, I think, on a Friday or a Thursday, and they're supposed to meet in Qatar on like Sunday. That's when they said, you know what? Gloves are off. Both the reformists and the conservatives got together and said, let's hit these guys back. And what ended up happening was Iran just launched a ton of missiles at Israel. And the thing that I realized is like the mainstream media didn't like cover appropriately. Dude, Iran Israel up. And now they're starting to admit, yeah, they hit a bunch of our intel spots. They hit Mossad bases, Shin Bet bases. They hit some of their missile defense. They hit a bunch of different strategic areas in Israel. And the reason why I know this is because there were journalists there trying to document the damage. Bro, the cops would arrest them or kick them out if they were caught recording any of these places getting hit, because the Israelis didn't want the Iranians to know what was hit and what wasn't, so they can refine the GPS coordinates and keep sending in missiles to be more accurate. So the Israelis did a really good job of making sure that it wasn't too public how hard they were getting hit. But the reality is this: as time continued to pass on, the interceptor missiles that the Israelis were using to shoot down these Iranian rockets they're running out, because to shoot down a missile costs significantly more than for the missile to come in. So in other words, in a battle of attrition, Iran is going to win because those interceptor missiles, number one, they have less of them and they're way harder to make and more expensive. Israel's spending like millions upon millions of dollars a day just to defend themselves. And at some point, they're going to run out of the missiles. This is why the United States bombed those nuclear facilities to end the war. Because if it had kept going, Israel's Iron Defense, David Sling, and I can't remember the third one right now, but these air defense systems wouldn't have been able to sustain much longer because they didn't have enough interceptor missiles. So they had to end the war. Otherwise, Israel would have gotten absolutely cooked. And Israel, I've always said, when it comes to the IDF, they're like a glass cannon. They got good weaponry. They're very good on the attack. They're not so good on the defense. And the Iranians proved that with their ballistic missile program, which, really hit Israel hard. And there was a couple missiles that they couldn't hit because the Iranians have a bunch of hypersonic missiles, which can't be stopped. So,
but don't you think
yeah.
if Israel wanted the narrative to be that they are sort of victims in the situation, which I think a lot of the times you would argue is like that's their sort of prerogative, and I think a lot of people think like that's kind of what they quote unquote do, right? Wouldn't they want the mainstream media to report that sort of damage?
No, and the reason why is because they didn't want the Iranians to know that they had hit a lot of their strategic locations. It's coming out now, right? And I had to I had to look at I had to watch Israeli media to find out. I had to watch Arab media to find out. Like in Western media, they exclusively didn't report it. So, but yeah, they got hit pretty hard, man. And now it's starting to come out.
But that was my question. Was like, wouldn't you? Don't you think you would garner more support from the West if they were having a harder time than a easier time?
Nah, because they started the war.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying.
Like they attacked them first, and not only did they attack them, bro, that was like a Pearl Harbor event for Iran. Like it was literally like Israel was trying. Their goal, what they were hoping, is that they would destroy their air defense, bomb the hell out of them, and then the people would rise up and take over from the Ayatollah. Because there's a lot of civil unrest in Iran because their economy sucks. Their dollar's been fluctuating. They're getting crippling sanctions. And the old guy, the former Shah, or I think his son or whatever, was sending all these PSAs, speaking in Farsi to the people saying, rise up, take your country back. But the people didn't fall for the propaganda. If anything, it forced them to rally around the flag, and it made them become even more in line with the Ayatollah, because they looked at it like, look, we have our grievances with our government here, but we're not going to let these Israelis attack us like this. After they got attacked, bro, people took to the streets. Thousands of Iranians took to the streets and said, attack them back, hit them back. And then that united the reformists and the conservatives, and they agreed, we're going to hit them back, and they hit them back really hard, bro.
But you think like an all-out war there is just inevitable then between the two countries? Well, then also including us.
Yeah, so I do think it's inevitable because Iran is the last country left standing at this point. Operation Rising Lion, they kind of busted their loads.
Last standing, that is kind of stopping them from feeling completely protected, right?
Yeah, so what Israel wants is they want hegemony in the Middle East where no one can stand up to them. And they've basically cucked every single country. So Egypt and Jordan are bribed. We pay them a bunch of money to play nice with the Israelis. Hezbollah has been disrupted and dismantled to a significant degree. It's going to take them years to build up. Syria was destabilized because they backed the Ahmed al-Shara, who went ahead and took over Syria in 3 weeks and got Bashar al-Assad out of there. So now Syria's, basically destabilized. The Houthis have been weakened. They killed a lot of their government higher-ups. Saudi Arabia, obviously, deals with Israel politically, even though they try not to admit it. UAE, Qatar, all these other places, they deal with Israel. So all the hostile countries have been either destroyed, destabilized, or are bribed by us. Iran's the last one standing.
Yeah.
Iraq was destroyed too.
Yeah, obviously.
That was for Israel. That one was, dude, that's the biggest lie. Like they said, oh yeah, Saddam Hussein and Osama bin Laden, were working together. That's the biggest lie. Saddam Hussein and Osama bin Laden hate each other. That's one of the biggest lies that still to this day, for some odd reason, people still talk about. The whole war in Iraq was a huge, huge lie.
Yeah. Well, that one really gets me. That's the one, like, even if I don't know all the details of it, you can just hear the Netanyahu guy speak about both those situations and then speak about the situation currently. And the thing that just rung in my mind, and I've talked about this before on the podcast, but there is footage of him, I don't know, 30 years ago saying, we need to strike them. We need a regime change, all this stuff, right?
This is what he said exactly.
Yes.
He says, if we take out Saddam, it's going to have positive reverberations across the region. Yeah. And he said that. And also, the thing that got us into war with Iraq, and I'll sum it real quick for you, Mohammed Atta, the head hijacker during 9/11, they claimed that Mohammed Atta met with Iraqi intelligence officers in either Prague or Malaysia, and they gave him anthrax. That was the link that they used. And guess who gave us that intel? Israeli intelligence. And we used that. the neocons and the Bush administration, which, by the way, these neocons, a majority of them are, by the way, whether it's Daniel Pearl, Douglas Feith, Wolfowitz, Robert Kagan, Bill Kristol, all these guys are the only one that really wasn't from that era with the PNAC was John Bolton, who just got indicted, actually. And I think Judith Miller, another neocon, big reporter. All these people pushed the anthrax lie and the whole "we must attack Iraq."
But even
angle.
despite this, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's footage of Netanyahu talking about regime change and how we need to do that in the area.
100%. Yeah. Like, you're right. Back in like 2002, he came to the United States and he said it under oath.
Right. So
Or at a
there's
press
that
conference or something.
There's that literal action that he said. Like there's that footage of him speaking, and then he gets on the Nelk Boys podcast, and they ask him about regime change specifically in Iran, and he says that never works.
Yeah, that's a lie. That's what they want is regime change.
And I'm just like, yo, but that's the thing you campaigned for 30 years about. 30 years ago, rather, we need a regime change in this area in the Middle East, and then now it's just so funny to see him say it later. Oh, it doesn't work. It's like you're the guy who campaigns for that. Yeah.
So Netanyahu, this is why Netanyahu's a very good politician. He understands who his audience is. He knows coming to the United States and saying we need a regime change would be wildly unpopular because we all still have a bad taste in our mouth from Iraq, right? Which another funny story, by the way, after the Iraqi war, guess who Israel gets most of their oil from? Iraq. It's not us, it's the Kurds, because once they destabilized Saddam, who had beef with the Kurds, what ended up happening was now they get a majority of their oil from Iraq, and they got rid of Saddam, who was one of the biggest enemies and the biggest threats to them. So what's left is Iran. But yeah, that whole Iraq war, trying to connect Mohammed Atta, the lead hijacker, to Iraqi intelligence officials. This is the lie that all the neocons ran with for years to justify that war and weapons of mass destruction, which ended up all being a lie.
Yeah,
the anthrax was made here in the United States,
and then we left a bunch of the there, and then it's like everyone agreed that it was a waste of time, but it's like, but yet here we are still dealing with it.
Took us 20 years to figure it out, and Netanyahu knows that the Iraq war left a lot of resentment with Americans, so he's very intelligent where he doesn't say regime change anymore because he knows that means there needs to be boots on the ground in a war. So he's very. One thing about Netanyahu is he campaigns. He says certain things with Western media, then he says certain things with Israeli media. So like that peace plan that we were discussing earlier, that 20-point plan. So once they went ahead and like negotiated the plan, immediately after he goes on Israeli television, right, in Hebrew, and says, "Oh guys, don't worry, we're just kind of feigning diplomacy. We're still the war's gonna continue on," because the people that support Netanyahu are far right weirdos like Smotrich and Ben Gvir, who are genocidal maniacs. Like these guys just want to get rid of all the Arabs. They want them all gone. These guys are super far right. As a matter of fact, Netanyahu is considered moderate compared to these guys, right?
Yeah.
So to appease his constituents, he's in a rock and a hard place because on one end, Trump is putting pressure on him to have a ceasefire so that Trump can keep good relations with his people in Qatar and the Middle East, and he just struck that deal where all this investment. But Netanyahu is like, I got to keep the war going because these guys that support me want the war, and if I don't make them happy, I'm not going to be prime minister anymore, and then I'm going to go to jail because he's in the middle of a corruption trial right now. So that's kind of what he's navigating, where he says one thing in American media and then he says something else in Israeli media to appease his constituents in Israel.
Yeah. What is the corruption trial? Like, what do you know what specifically he's
Yeah, basically bribery. He was getting like cigars and expensive wine and, bribery, embezzlement, and corruption, stuff like that. And this has been going on since 2016.
Oh, okay. So it didn't really have anything to do with like geopolitics. It's just him getting money and stuff on the side.
Pretty much, yeah. Like, him, taking bribes and shit like that.
So it's not because other Israelis in Israel are like, yo, what he's doing is wrong?
No.
Yeah, okay. But isn't there a large populations of Israelis that do believe what he's doing is wrong?
Yeah, there's a human rights organization, B'Tselem, I think is the name. And they're a Israeli human rights group, and they have even said, yeah, this is a genocide.
Yeah.
Even Holocaust scholars, Israeli genocide experts and people that are even Holocaust historians, etc., they're all coming forward, and every single genocide expert has basically come forward and said, yeah, what's going on in Gaza right now is absolutely genocide.
Yeah.
And the Israelis try to deny it, but the reality is the definition of genocide is extermination of a group of people in whole or in part. And you can make the argument for sure that they've been killing them in part, because when this is all said and done, dude, I predict we're going to have somewhere between 100,000 to 600,000 dead.
Yeah, and then the narrative is always, well, but if it was a genocide, we would have just killed them all like that.
Exactly, and
it's just such a funny thing. That's like, damn, concept. that's your defense to the argument, is that if it was a genocide, we would have just killed them all like that. It's like, wait a minute, dude, what's going on here?
They're ridiculous, bro. Or they'll say, oh, Hamas is using them as human shields, bro. Like, the problem is that, like, they don't take any accountability and they blame everything on Hamas. Oh yeah, it's Hamas's fault that we are killing you guys like this. It's Hamas's fault. It's like, bro, you guys have and this is what I always say, because I've debated so many Zionists.
But the problem with that is, like, you can't say you have the best military, the best intelligence, the best equipment, but Hamas. That's the problem with it.
Precisely.
Like, that's the layman. You could just go, I don't need to know anything, but like those things don't add. Like I said earlier, it doesn't jive together. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, because the reality is Hamas is a ragtag militia with World War II weapons. Okay, these guys don't have anything sophisticated. So let me get this straight. You're able to do a 10-year pager intelligence operation against Hezbollah, who actually is a strong military that's actually beat Israel on multiple occasions. They beat them in 2006, and they whooped their ass in the 80s too, dragged them out of there. And then you were able to do an operation against the IRGC and do all this stuff surreptitiously with no problems. Two superior militaries, but you're telling me that you guys can't do precise strikes against Hamas? This doesn't make sense. It was never about getting rid of Hamas. It was about destroying Gaza so it's inhabitable, so they can get the people out of there. That's what it was about. It was never about Hamas or the hostages. It was about making it inhabitable to get those people out of there.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. I'm gonna have that kid from Gaza back on the show one more time to talk about the ceasefire and everything. I'm really excited to do that.
Yeah, that 20-point plan. Also, the Israelis have already, like, they've killed hundreds of Palestinians already. They've already violated it, and their grounds is, and the Israelis do this all the time, they broker deals that they know can't really be fulfilled, so that they can go ahead and renege on what they agreed to. And I'll give you an example. So there was multiple parts of the deal, but one of them was releasing all the hostages, right? So obviously Hamas made good on it, released all the hostages, right? And they got back, like, I think 1,000 Palestinians. But they said, okay, well, we need the 20 corpses of the Israelis that died. Well, Hamas is like, okay, we need time, though, because they're buried under the rubble. Now ask yourself, wait, if they're buried under the rubble, how did Hamas kill them? The IDF killed them. The Israelis killed them. And for every Zionist that I debate on this topic, they're like, no, Hamas killed them. Or, well, they say Hamas. That's how the Israelis pronounce it. Hamas. And I'm like, okay, how does this make sense? If Hamas has an inferior military, they don't have air superiority, they really can't fight the Israelis at all in any way. What leverage do they have? The only leverage they have is the hostages. Why the would they kill their only leverage? Doesn't make sense. The reality is, these Israelis that were killed by the IDF during airstrikes or starvation.
Yeah, it's.
But they'll sit there and lie and say Hamas killed them. It doesn't make sense. You're telling me they risked all that and go through all the trials and tribulations to keep them hidden so that they can kill them? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Do you think majority of people are completely, like, eyes open to this thing now?
Eyes are definitely more open than before. They might not know, like, all the intricate details that I'm talking about, but they definitely know that they're up.
Oh my God.
I'll say that.
Because, like, man, I have some good Jewish friends, dude. It's not just, you know?
No, it's not. It's not. And I'm glad that you brought that up, because a lot of people are retarded and they'll be like, oh yeah, I hate all bad. Come on, dude. Like, some of the biggest advocates for Palestine and what's going on are people, right? Norman Finkelstein, Max Blumenthal, Dave Smith, who else? There's just so many. I just can't, like, I have a brain for it now. It was like 4 a.m.
No, you're fine. Yeah. There's a lot. I know there's a lot that don't agree with what's going on there. And I think that does suck, because there is definitely that piece of, which is something I wanted to talk about, was like I have a lot of Jewish friends, and, like, a lot of them are like, man, this kind of sucks. Yeah. Because a lot of people look at me like this, or, you know, they just lump you into the whole thing and they go, well, it's them, so it's also you. And it's definitely a shitty position, I think.
Yeah. And my thing too is, like, you know, Like, for example, I remember I saw people like ripping off the posters of the hostages in major cities saying, oh, the hostages, the Israeli hostages, rip them off and say free Palestine. And I was like, yo, that's unacceptable. Like, these are innocent people. Like, you're no better ripping off the hostages thing saying free Palestine as the Israelis that are bombing kids. All innocent life matters. And all you're doing is stooping down to their level where you're saying, oh no, well, we value our people over their people. And that's precisely why we're in the issue that we're in. So,
Right.
some of the biggest advocates for Palestine have been Jewish people, man. Really. And they put their neck on the line for real because, it's one thing to be called an anti-Semite and get all this hate as someone who's a Gentile. It's really vicious when you're actually and you're speaking out against them. So a lot of these people are super brave, man, and have like really been through the fire to talk about this subject, right? They're getting called anti-Semites, they're being called traitors, they're being called terrorists, sympathizers, all this bullshit, man. And I definitely give credit to the Jews out there who are speaking on behalf of the Palestinians and what's going on there. Much respect to them.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think sometimes that sort of concept gets just kind of really undershadowed, obviously, because there's, a lot of other things that are an actual problem, I think. But I think that gets a little bit like, it doesn't get said enough, I think.
No, you're right. Because, because what ends up happening is they look at it like it's all or nothing, right? Like if you say, yo, it's not all people, they're going to call you right? But if you go all the way, they're going to say you're anti-Semite. It's like you can't have any type of nuance, right? I'll give credit to Piers Morgan. Like Piers Morgan has done a good job of like, hosting people on both sides that are both, pro-Israel and pro-Palestine. And then originally when the war happened, he was more pro-Israel. But then as the war continued on and they killed more and more people, he said, look, now I can't defend Israel no more. Like you guys are killing too many people, and he's changed his position. But you can't win because what ends up happening is you either get called an anti-Semite, terrorist sympathizer, or you get called like an Israel shill. So it's like, it's very difficult to have a nuanced take on this because this is such a divisive topic, extremely divisive.
Yeah.
But no, man, there's been a lot of lots of Jewish people speaking out against this stuff, and much respect to them because they get attacked viciously. Like Dave Smith, Norma Finkelstein, Max Blumenthal, I forget her first name. I think Katie Helper, maybe.
Laura Loomer.
Laura's pro-Israel.
I'm kidding.
She's pro-Israel. But like, it's just so many people have gotten like, completely attacked for this. So much respect to them.
Yeah.
There's way more. I feel bad that I can't think of them all because there's at least like 5 or 10 that I could think of off the top of my head. It's just that it's so late right now. It's just
no, you're good. You're fine, brother. So what else is new? It's like, how do we segue out of that? It's like, it's such a thing because you're just like, man.
Dude, it's it's crazy times that we live in, bro. I mean, I remember, us having this topic, we had to cut it out the last interview, right? Now we're openly talking about it, right? And we're talking about the painter, and we're talking about October 7th, and we're talking about, all the stuff going on, and it's nuts, man. I never thought that we would get here.
Yeah. Do you feel hopeful for the future?
I do. I do believe in the next generation coming up because they're getting more red pill than we were, right? And bro, honestly, if they don't want to do it, bro, I truly do feel that the next, maybe not the next election cycle, but the election cycle after that, bro, influencers are going to start running this country.
That's a crazy take, but I think you're right, man.
And
genuinely,
I'll tell you why. So what we saw was like a fantastic experiment in the 2024 election. We saw Kamala Harris take the traditional presidential endorsement route. She got endorsements from Taylor Swift, from LeBron James, from Beyonce, actors, Beyonce. She got all the traditional celebrity endorsements, right?
No one gave a
No one gave a what did Trump do? Trump got no A-list celebrity endorsements. He just went on social media. He just went and did podcasts, did press conferences, was chatting with the people. He did Rogan, which I think was huge, and he won in a landslide. And I truly do think with Kamala Harris, one of the things that fucked her up was she started doing independent media too late, and she went on the wrong platforms. She should have 100% done Rogan. She should have done a couple of these other podcasts that might have been more adversarial with her. The only, I think, social media influencer podcast she did was Call Her Daddy, which is retarded. That audience, those people are going to vote for you no matter what.
Yeah,
It's a bunch of dumb hoes that watch that shit, that want to babies, that want to be able to abort babies. They're going to vote for you either way. You have to go on a platform where you're talking to your adversary.
Yeah,
that's what you have 100%. To do. And she didn't do a good job of doing that. So that's kind of what.
Yeah, you see them all doing it now. You see Gavin Newsom now. He's going to do 2028, and he's doing all the pods now.
Yep. And Gavin Newsom, you know, as much as he sucks, he is a fantastic politician. You know, I've always said the best politicians, you don't know what their policies are, you just like them, or they just you know what I mean? Like the reality is, like, politicians don't actually run on policy; they run on who likes them, right? You know, the reality is most Americans are too stupid to actually understand policy, right? They're just too stupid. Most people that come in and vote, they vote on, do I like this guy or do I not? The reality is, if I took Donald Trump's policies, right, and I didn't tell you it was Donald Trump, and I told you these are his policies, a lot of people are like, yeah, that's not bad. But then I say, oh, it's Donald Trump. Because they're able to invoke either a very negative response or a very positive response.
Yeah.
But the reality is most Americans don't really vote on policy. Most vote on who they like. Now, you know, you got some educated people. You know, you got some educated people on this stuff. I remember me and you had a discussion when we were out there with Vitaly. And I remember, you know, us sitting down, I was like, hey, what were the top reasons why you voted? And you were able to go, yeah, immigration is in my top, the economy, and then what was the third thing you listed? Foreign policy. Yeah. Wars.
I did, though. You know, it was frustrating because I was on the Nelk podcast with him, and I did ask him a question directly about foreign aid, and he didn't really answer it. I was a little frustrated with that. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
But those were the three reasons. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. Because I remember because me and you that's the reason why I remember is because we had the same reason why we were voting. For me, number one was foreign policy, getting out of wars. Number two was immigration. And then the last was economy. But yeah, I know me and you had the same thing. But like, bro, that's like the 2%, 3%. Most people can't even tell you why they voted for who they voted for. You know what I mean? Like, you know, we're more educated on this topic than most people. But most Americans don't vote for policy. They vote on the candidate, unfortunately. And that's why Gavin Newsom is so good. He's a charmer, good-looking guy, has a family, has the all-American look. He's a good politician. And a lot of the times, the best politicians don't actually have real policy.
Yeah. But then you find out just like, it's just the donors. And you're just like, man.
Bro, when the hell are you coming to Miami, bro? You've been telling me this for years, man.
I was in Miami. Bro, I swear to God, I must have texted your old number because I was in Miami for the new gym like 2 months ago, and I text you, but I think...
No, you didn't.
I swear, I think you
text your... Brad.
No, but I think I text your other number or some shit. I swear. Wallahi, bro.
Motherfucker, I'm going through this right now. You didn't message me.
No. I think I text your old number, actually. Because I'm not going to lie.
Same number.
No, I know. So here's the crazy thing. I swear to God,
right now. Save that one.
Bro,
I don't know if you have my other number too, but...
No, I remember. I swear to God, I thought that I texted you because I remember leaving and getting in the airport and being like, that motherfucker never texted me back.
Bruh.
I swear to God.
You know that's bullshit, bro.
I know. No, I know that you wouldn't text me. I know that you wouldn't not text me back, but maybe I just didn't send the message. But I remember a moment when I was getting on the plane and I was like, Myron never hit me back. I was like, yo, he got too popular with the politics. He's not with me anymore.
No, bro. No, man. There's certain people when they hit me up, bro, I will drop what I'm doing to do whatever needs to be done. And you're one of those guys, bro. You know I love you. So,
yeah, I appreciate that. Genuinely.
No, bro. You've been great to me. You're a good dude, and you got a big heart. And I wish other people saw that side of you. Pause.
Yeah, I get it.
But
I get it.
But no, man, like there's certain people that hit me up. But bro, you gotta, next time you're in Miami, you gotta move out here, bro. I don't know what the you're still doing in California.
Yeah, with Gavin.
We've been talking about this for years, bro.
Gavin.
What has it been? 3-4 years now? I've been telling you.
I'll tell you why, man. It's just because I just like my house so much. I got my dogs. I'm simple, man. Like, because it's set up and I like it. And I guess the thought of like, I gotta, set everything up again somewhere else. I'll do it. When I open the gym out there, I will be out there for probably half the year, and I'll probably eventually end up moving out there. I will not live in Miami. I think I'm gonna live outside because I just don't like the mess. I mean, I'm over it, man.
So is it the place that we talk? I don't want to go too much in detail. Is it the place we discussed before? Same spot?
No. It's a different spot. It's in Wynwood. It's a great location.
Nice.
I haven't talked much about it because I realized like things take longer than I wish they would. That's just kind of how sometimes it happens. So I've kind of refrained from talking about it. But if it goes well, which it is going well at this point, it's looking like it might be like a 3-story, like a rooftop and 2-story. So it's gonna be special, man.
I'll tell you this, bro. I don't go to public gyms anymore because I get stopped too much. But I'll tell you this: if you open up a gym in Miami, I'm gonna definitely go out there, endorse it, train there. You know what I mean? Show love.
It's gonna be special, brother. It's gonna be special, and obviously I'd love to have you there for real.
No, bro, yeah, man. Oh, I'm there opening day, dude. I'm there opening day. So,
yeah, I seen Fresh, and I talked to him a little bit. He was at one of the local gyms over there.
I'd rather give you my gym membership money than give it to Equinox, these other cucks. I'd rather like support someone I actually know and like. You know what I mean? Versus
Yeah, I get you.
Gyms.
And then maybe I'll become a politician. Look at that. Get the support there too.
There you go, my friend.
I'm not lying. I kind of want to do it, man. I just feel like I'm gonna get in there and gonna be like, nah. This guy, I don't know, man. Like, how am I gonna get the donors? You know?
I'm telling you, dude. I truly do think that maybe not this next election cycle, but dude, the election cycle after that, bro, it's gonna be the influencers, bro, that come in and start being politicians, bro. They're gonna say this.
Do you think Nick Fuentes would ever run for office?
I hope he does. I hope he does.
Yeah, it's funny, man. The comments about him are so funny. Like, yo, the Emperor Nick. It's insane, dude.
Yeah, no,
it's funny.
I hope he does, bro. I'll be the attorney general. I'll put all these motherfuckers in jail. I've told people already, bro. If I ever became like the Fuhrer or have the become attorney general or some shit or head of the FBI, bro, these criminals are cooked, bro. We're bringing back torturing. I'm telling you, yo.
I don't know if you should run on that.
No, hear me out. No. So literally, I'm gonna call the WBNN, the Waterboard Network. Okay, no. All these guys stabbing chicks on trades and shit, bro. We're waterboarding these. Live stream, state sponsored, of course, totally free to watch, no pay-per-view, and that's how we curb the crime. We can't just put them in jail. We got to torture them. You want to rape kids?
You sound like Castro.
You want to, bro? That's the only way it's gonna work, bro. We got to get these. Castro, we got to put the bamboo reeds in the fingernails. You got to torture these guys. Put them in the stocks. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Are we talking about pedophiles? Absolutely. I'm on board.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, bro. Like that dude that stabbed Irina in the train, bro. You got to torture like that, bro. Like crimes against children, heinous acts of violence, school shooters. Like, bro, you got to torture these guys. Because here's the thing about criminals that I realized from working in law enforcement and studying serial killers. They have egos and they don't want to be shown as suffering. So like torture, especially like on the internet with hundreds of thousands watching, that would hurt their ego.
I feel like you would just get some sick mother that would be like, yeah, that's what I want. Like they want that. Then they do it for clout. Then it's a whole nother conversation, you know?
Yeah, but
they trying to be again. They want to be the serial killer that all the serial killers like. And we're like, oh my God.
Well, the thing is that we got to use like shaming punishment, right? So like if it's a black dude, we got to with a slave.
Oh my God. Right? You trying to get me big?
Right? Or if it's like you gotta like fucking throw pennies at him, but he can't pick them up and shit. You know what I mean? Like that's how you gotta torture them. Or if it's an Indian, you put deodorant on them.
No,
like this is what you gotta do, bro.
You're trying to get me big. You're doing it all. He said this shit. He came at the end of the show. Bow, bow, bow. You're crazy, man. Yo, I on that note, I appreciate your time and thank you.
Brad, anytime,
always.
bro.
And when I come to Miami next, I promise you, I'll show up. I want to do the show. I do.
Yeah, bro, we need to get you back on, man, and get you on with some girls and shit.
How many years ago was that? Like 3 years ago?
Bro, it was a while ago, man. It was a while ago. You owe me an interview, bro. You owe me like 5.
I'll be back. I promise. I do, because you've done 2 for me so far. Or 3.
Yeah, maybe 3.
Because it was you, and then it was you and Sneeko, and now this one.
Yeah. This is the 3rd. But bro, I don't mind it, man. Bro, we're just chopping it. Like it's always the best when you're talking to a friend because it's just like you're just chopping it up, whatever.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean. My biggest thing is I just wanted to make sure that I have energy and I don't be a boring loser on your shit, man.
No, you're great. You're very informative. I appreciate your time, man. You're very well read for sure.
No, I appreciate you, Brad. I really do. But yeah, you owe me an interview, mother.
I will. I'll be there. I promise.
I got my word. Out here, do you know or no?
Probably in 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay. Text me on the side when you're thinking about opening your gym.
I will.
So that we can,
I will.
Because I'm going to start, and give me the address too, so I can like start kind of planning, and we'll do a fucking big launch for you and all that, bro. Welcome to Miami.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Don't share the address. I sent it to you. It's
okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. I got you.
Secret.
You sent me the other one. It didn't go nowhere. So
yeah. We want
I remember I had the other one. I didn't say shit. So I got you, bro.
Okay.
Just
cool.
have a clearance. But yeah, no, man. It was great talking with you, and yeah, dude. you know, it's always fun talking with you and everything else like that. So, yo, we need to play Marvel Rivals. That's what I was gonna say.
Bro, I'm really good at that game. Better than I am at Overwatch at that game.
Really?
Yeah, really good at that game.
Maybe.
And obviously, I play healer because that's what I do. I don't know why I'm a class, but I am.
But who do you use?
Cloak, or I use or Rocket. Cloak, Rocket. I could play whatever. I could also play Thing. I could play Invisible Girl, all that kind of.
So I haven't played in months, but if you actually play, we should fucking get back on and play and just stream that.
And I would lie to you if I said I haven't played in months.
Okay. Well, where do you still stream on Twitch, or where do you stream?
I haven't been streaming as much. I've just been playing video games like an actual degenerate.
Bro, let's just stream on Kick, bro. You don't got to worry about censorship, none of that bullshit.
Yeah, I'm down. I'm genuine, for real. I'm the gaming will never lose my heart. It was just always a part of me, man. So I'm down to do it.
Okay,
but your hours are crazy. Like you really sleep all day and stay up all night. Like,
yeah, no,
after this, when you're done, is that what you're gonna go do? Is play video games?
No, bro. I haven't played in months because like I don't want to play. Like I like to play with my friends. So like if I play with you or Chris or whatever, I'll hop on and I'll play. You know, but like the problem is that like I rage on randoms, so I get banned.
No, yeah, I can't. I won't do it.
Yeah, yeah. You're like,
I won't do it. I will
remember
not
last
play.
We played. We played and we got reported.
Yeah, I will not do it. I will not play with randoms.
Everybody watch this. Yo, everybody watch this shit. Yo, me and Brad are the worst sports on video games ever.
Facts.
The most toxic duo. He's playing Moira. I'm playing like Soldier or whatever. He's pocket healing me, and we're just telling everybody, you guys are trash. You guys are fucking garbage. Why'd you use our ult? Why'd you do that? Bro, they're reporting us. Next thing I know, banned for a week.
I did it. Yeah. I only talk like that on an alt account.
Yeah. Yo, I'm not kidding. Guys, yo, you got to leave this in an interview so people know. Bro, the most toxic video game duo is me and Brad.
That's
far.
A fact.
By far. Toxic as hell. You guys get to see unredacted Brad on Overwatch.
But it's only because I'm super competitive. Like, why play the game if you don't want to try? Like, just don't play the game. Don't queue. Just get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Go play Fortnite.
Literally, like, yo, who turns on their PC to have fun? That's gay.
Nah, I go to fucking win.
Bro, and this what gets us banned. Because I remember we gave these mother lecture, like, yo, you're trash with the who turns on some idiot, remember? This was like, I think we were playing like Route 66 or something. And we're like, yo, what are you doing? Oh, bro, it's just a game. We're just here to have fun. And we just lost our, what do you mean you're here to have fun? The fuck? Who turns on their PC to have fun? We're here to win.
It's so real, bro.
Reported.
Yeah.
Banned for a week.
Oh, God. That's my real life, man. I love it. You got to be competitive. Otherwise, don't play.
No, we'll go viral, bro. We just can't play on Twitch, though. We can't play on Twitch, bro. We got to play on Kick.
We will. I'll hit you up about it. I promise.
Yeah. Let's we'll play. I mean, you're gonna go to sleep now, but yo, let's play this week, man.
Yeah, I'm down. I'm
Right,
I'm down tomorrow, like straight up. Like that's how much of a nerd I am. Yeah.
Let's fucking do it, man. I'm after I get off stream, we'll play. We'll figure out a time. And when do you normally play?
I play in the evening, so I play around like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock normally, my time.
Okay, so like 11 p.m. my time.
Yeah.
Okay, bro. I'll just keep the stream going, and we'll play.
Yeah, I'm down.
I'll be on stream, and I'll just like end up. We're playing playing with you. Pause.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pause.
That works. All right, brother.
All right,
I appreciate your time.
All right, brother. Thank you for having me so much, man. It's always great talking to you.
Thank you, Myron. Thank you.
Anytime, Brad. Peace.
Every Tuesday, I love you guys. Subscribe to the channel. We're out of here.